from the government, and I'm here to help.
Take a look, it's in a book.
Some members of the community use their platforms to push their own personal bias and agenda.
Let's watch. Figure it out.
Welcome back, everybody. We are the End of Days Best Friends, and this is the We Figured It Out podcast. I'm your boy, Michael.
And I'm Matt.
And once again, we got our boy Brandon Kroll back on. Everybody knows what he's about. If you don't by now, he's going to bring the receipts. He's going to bring the info, and it's going to be relevant. You're going to want to listen. So take it away, man.
Hey, thanks for having me back on. Yeah, you're going to learn a lot about hats today. If you didn't know too much about some of these hats and where they came from, but again, it's kind of like once you understand who wears what hat, you're going to start understanding a lot with our politics. And I do think, as much as we try to cast it off, say that's more of a modern concept, the more we look back into history, you start understanding, oh, this isn't just something that just randomly was invented. Everything has a reason, everything has a meaning, everything has a purpose. And that's kind of what we as Christians...
Some don't even use hats, right? Like, I mean, it's definitely not a Middle Eastern thing.
No.
Right?
Well, ish. I mean, it kind of more so in the Turkish region is where the hats kind of stemmed from the Phrygian caps, which we'll get into. But aside from that, for the most part, no. Most of it was cloaks and towels and whatnot to reduce the sun and heat.
Actual function, crazy.
Well, that's again, it's like God gives us all this stuff and we have a normal way of using it. Then we have the occult that's going, ooh, what if we could weaponize this? What if we could throw a subtle meaning on this? It's like,
right. Yeah, that's a good point. That is a good point too, Matt. No hat, because no hat does matter too. So
no cap.
Yeah, no cap. That's what I meant to say. Dang.
As the kids say, we're probably butchering the meaning.
I'm too old right there.
Yeah, so without any further ado, let's see if I can bring it up. Is that going to show? Let me know if it comes on screen. We're tinkering around at the moment.
Oh yeah, it's there.
Oh, yeah.
Okie doke. Yeah, I was always when I'm doing this, I'm trying to think of several ideas for a thumbnail.
What did you?
Shush, not you. Trying to think of several ideas for a thumbnail. And Doge, Rise of the Technocrats, came to mind, and the perfect one was the dollar signs within the eyeballs of the Statue of Liberty and this cult wearing all this Ku Klux Klan hats. Where does it come from? Where does it go? As we know what that song goes all about into.
That's crazy.
One thing I was noticing going around is Doge E-God. And that was making me think of the Sound of Silence song and this Neon God that they made. That's kind of where we're going a little bit, is we're going into the avatar of creating man in our own image. You shall become like gods. That's kind of where this is all going, and that's kind of what I'm going to outline what Doge is, where it's coming from, and where we may not see it ultimately. This is what I'm going to try to bring to the forefront. I've been feeling the lead from God to... I had to start breaking down definitions for people because a lot of people don't know what some things mean. That's why I'm going to start going into anarchy, libertarian, breaking it down specifically, because a lot of people seem to be having a presupposition on something without understanding how to implement, the adjective of what it actually means. I was doing a little bit of reading, and this guy called Galen back in the day, he was a health guy. And he was noticing something about Christian/philosophers is that everybody that was starting to scrutinize the school of philosophy, he would go, hey, well, you wouldn't insult the master because the master of this particular group was perfect, right? And this was a great concept. And so people were joining these philosophy groups and movements because it sounded hip. It sounded cool. It had prestige, kind of like I went to Harvard, right? But it wasn't because you were actually living it. So you were taking on the adjective because it sounds cool, but you actually weren't implementing what the...
Just out there watering it all down.
Right. You're not actually implementing what the philosophy says. And this was starting to become very similar to Christians. I joined Christianity for a bit because it was hip, it was cool, but it was kind of like a classic thing with a lot of Greeks. I only converted to the god of that city. And then once after a while, I was like, this is kind of too much to implement. And then they moved on. Same thing I'm seeing with a lot of Christians today is, we're following things because it sounds cool, but we're actually not living it. Now, if you guys watch old movies,
Somewhat depends which movie. I like TCM though. I do like the channel.
Yeah. Once you ever see the movie Court Jester?
No.
Kenny K. Highly recommend it. A lot of classic dialogue in there. Um, and it's where I first heard this word Doge. And as a kid, I like I said, I used to use a dictionary before bed. So I remember old words, old phrases, and they're having this discourse as you're. I don't want to play except for any plagiarizing thing and whatever. I'm not sure what all the rules are with that. But in this little discussion that's going on here, he's saying, "Well, what did the Duke do? The Duke, yes, and what did the Doge do? The Doge." And of course, I'm immediately thinking, we have Doge as a modern term. We have Dogecoin. We have Doge, the government thing. What is a Doge? And again, from the movie, this is what I had to look up. The Doge was an elected head of state in an Italian city-states during the medieval or Renaissance period. The title Doge comes from the Latin word dux, which means leader. Which I'm
Okay.
chuckling because we have a lot of people saying Elon's actually running the government with Doge and stuff like that. And I was going, well, they're not necessarily wrong because it literally is in the name.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I was chuckling because as well, the dollar sign in Doge is the snake on the staff, right? So it's just something to consider. And I chuckled when I saw the meme, but the evolution of medicine. And I was chuckling as well because in this book that I was reading, phenomenal little things popped out. The Throne of Satan. Do you guys know where that is? On
Like
Earth. It's not in hell.
um around the UN somewhere. It's got to be around the UN somewhere.
Nope.
Dang.
Matt, you want to give a shot?
Jerusalem.
Nope.
Dang it. I
Pergamum,
think I should.
Turkey.
Turkey.
And that is one of the churches mentioned in Revelation. And I was going, okay, Pergamum. So when King Solomon's temple was being the first temple was getting destroyed, and you had a remnant that went off into Babylon and formed the Babylonian Talmud. You had another remnant of these guys, of the scholars and rabbis and whatnot. They went to Pergamum, which is kind of like the Greek Greco-Turkish equivalent of where they were studying the ancient arts. And Pergamum happens to be one of the place of the staff of Asclepius, the Caduceus staff, the thing that we see in Baphomet's junk. And I was going, well, that's interesting because we had that thing with Operation Warp Speed, which the
Mm-hmm.
speed of light allegedly is 144,000. And there's a certain remnant in Revelation that is spared, known
Hmm.
as the 144,000.
All right. And
Now, I could be
if that
wrong,
was
but
the case, there's no reason to have the 144,000 been chosen?
right.
Well,
Okay.
so they think it's the 12, right? The 12 tribes of Israel would be like the most
That's what the most people
modern.
are pitching. But in the
Yes.
occult, the 144,000 connects with the speed of light. Now, Christ is
Mm-hmm.
saying, I am the light, the way, the truth, and stuff like that. And he was
Mm-hmm.
telling the Pharisees, if you were actually in the Word, you would understand my light. You'd understand who I am because I am the Word of God made flesh. But you're not because you mix with things of man. That's why you're not able to see who I am. You're putting a veil and a shroud over your eyes so you cannot tell who I truly am. I know who you are because I know you by your works and what you do in the dark, which Stephen outlines for us later on. So, anyways, when I found that thing out with Pergamum and the Caduceus staff, I was just making me go, well, that's all very interesting, right? Because we have that verse in Timothy, 1 Timothy 6:10, the love of money is the root of all evil. Now, a lot of people are telling me, well, Brandon, you need money. It's like, yes, you do. But ultimately, this is something I've been telling Little Season people because they emphasize physical coinage. They've emphasized physical buildings being destroyed and or built. And Christ is saying, lay not your treasures in things of this earth, but in heaven. It's not about physical structures. It's about eternity. It's about spiritual things. Set not your mind on things, be not conformed to things of this world, but set your mind on things above. I'm seeing, so when you put an emphasis on a physical thing, you're kind of already losing the meaning. Granted, are we physical and in a human realm?
Yeah.
Yes. But we're evolving to become spiritual, right? We're supposed to bring that down what we can as best we can and emulate Christ through our actions.
Yep.
So, let's see.
It's okay to have the physical here and there.
Yes, but understand, that's the whole, a lot of people tend to misinterpret this. But when he's saying render unto Caesar the things that are Caesar's and unto God the things that are God, what it's emphasizing, basic nook and cranny, is yes, while you're here, give unto man what is required, but don't forget your spiritual priorities first and foremost to God your Father. Now,
Yep.
in Kabbalah, you merge the two. You take God's word and then you adjust it like, well, I don't do it for those reasons. God knows my heart. So you just took God's word and justified your life to make it more palatable to accept to the secular culture at hand, whether that's voting, whether that's Christmas trees, whether that, so on and so forth. You just
Mhm.
take God's word, which is isn't that what Satan did from day one? He said
Absolutely.
that, but let's try to find a loophole here. When he finds Christ in the wilderness and he's tempting him, what is he constantly doing? He's bringing up scripture. And Christ
Yep.
is going, I know where you're going with that, but this other verse cancels out that line of thinking with your traditions of men. Go away, go away. So little things like that where you start going, oh, okay. I don't want to weaponize God's word. I don't want to add or take away to it. Because, again, they were saying, well, Christianity, yeah, because man has weaponized the Bible. It is a weapon, it's a sword. But they're now trying to utilize it, as I'm going to show today. They're utilizing it to usher in Christian nationalism, right? Well, it's what Christ would do, not via legislation.
No. Yeah.
It's our testimony, not legislation, that converts people.
Free
And if
will,
you think you have
right?
to impose that, you're going back to Dust Vault days,
Like
Spanish Inquisition.
people just don't understand free will and how it works, huh?
Right.
And
You
why
don't,
God gave us free will.
you
Like
don't,
instead, you're going to be more mighty than God and be like, no, you have to.
yes. Yes. We don't need to force it. That's the beauty of Christianity, is that it's, well, I was trying to say today to somebody. It says libertarians is ultimately Satanism. I said, no, that's left and right. Libertarian in sentiment, not party, not party, sentiment. And again, Klaus Schwab from the World Economic Forum says one of the greatest threats to their cause is this concept of libertarianism. Concept, not party. Because obviously they're not doing so well in the polls every election, right?
Yeah.
What is the fear of libertarianism? Individualism. As what Joshua said, as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. If you guys want to follow the gods from the other side of the Euphrates, you go forth and do that. Okay? As for me, we're not doing that. Right? You're setting a standard of this is how I'm going to do it. Dominion over domestic issues in my own house. If you guys want to go and mutilate your body and do whatever it is, because that's how you identify it, go ahead. I'm not going to impose my thing upon you. However, I get free reign to debate you and also just to add, maybe convince, convict, and convert you, right? But it's not going to
Absolutely.
be imposed.
No.
So,
Doesn't work
um,
like that.
the Corno Ducale, I might be mispronouncing it. Apologies if so. A unique ducal cat was a headgear of symbol of the Doge of Venice. Now, again, we have a lot of the stuff with the Venetians and the 13 bloodlines. Immediately was making me go, interesting. It was a stiff horn-like bonnet, which was made of gemmed brocade and of cloth of gold and worn on a camaro. The ducal horn was fine linen cap and with structured peak. At the back, reminiscent of the Phrygian cap, a classic symbol of liberty. And it could also be known as the Thracian cap, Liberty cap, the Smurf cap. You ever watched the
Yeah, yeah,
Smurfs?
Yep. Yep.
yep.
I was thinking that looked like their
That's
white cap.
I was like, isn't that a Smurf cap? Like
Uh-huh.
Yes.
for sure.
It's a variation of the same thing, and I'm chuckling because again, it's like a horn, kind of similar to the unicorn right in the center, or rhinoceros. Fill it in with whatever you want. It's going okay. That's interesting. And it was also worn by the Sons of Liberty. Now, if you ever had a quarter and you've never watched Johnny Tremaine, Sons of Liberty, yes, they were Masonic. Of course, as a kid, you never see that in the movie, but you're kind of going, okay, the Sons of Liberty were inspired off of French Revolution. This was all going on at the same time of wearing a red Phrygian cap. It is the shedding blood for the aspect of liberty to be obtained. Now, isn't it ironic that patriotism versus Christ? Oh, it's the blood of the soldiers and all their name, and then you have Christ saying, "I redeemed you from all of this concept of having to go to war." Christ was sold for the price of a slave at his time to redeem the slaves from their sin. And we're telling us we're only free if somebody else dies for it. Oh, wait.
What did Jesus do then? Yeah.
Right. It's like, okay, so is it a patriot's blood that I'm grateful for or Christ? No, I'm not saying the aspect of self-defending your family and stuff like that is wrong. I'm not saying that for a second. What I am saying is when you're following the legislation and dictation of a government, as opposed to defending your tribe or village, whatever it is, because the government can always spin the narrative of, oh, look what they did to us, like the Boston Tea Party. That was a false flag. But what did it do? It instigated us closer towards a Revolutionary War. With all the
Yeah, like
legislation that was
throwing
being,
rocks at them until they shot us. What was the Boston
yeah,
Massacre, right? Like, I mean, you
well, because they
instigated
were
it.
dictating the narrative
Yeah, sure.
to
How big
propel
were the
us.
rocks? I mean,
Big enough
nobody
to get you
questions
shot.
that.
Well, they dictate the narrative and they create again. It's always been the same, even right now with propelling us to go to war with Iran, and now they just shot these two Israeli, whatever government individuals.
Yeah.
They're controlling the narrative to always propel us in the direction that they want us to go. And anybody who stands in opposition of that or is calling it out, conspiracy theorist, you're wrong, you're anti-Semitic, it's just like, no, I'm telling you what the truth is, but you're always trying to silence us because I hate to tell you this. In Christianity, the truth is one of the most powerful weapons. And God gives us history. He gives us the Bible. He gives us logic. He gives, rational thinking. So the more we're not in touch with things of this world and we don't love it, we're not defending it, we're not advocating for it, the more you're going to see things from a spiritual level and you're going to advocate that. And they are scared of us. No, they're not. Yes, they are. They're building bunkers, dude. They're
Yeah.
censoring us.
Hmm.
That's scared. Like again, I'm loving this thing. Did you guys watch Andor?
No, I don't even know what that is.
The Star Wars thing. Anyways, I was chuckling because there was a lot of similarities when they were starting to call this thing the massacre on Gorman. They were saying it was a massacre and a genocide, and I was like, it's very similar to Gaza actually. And I'm surprised that people don't see it, but it's probably because you're the imperialist and you don't seem to realize that the rebels are the ones that are defying this concept of empire and loving everything. But there's a guy who was listening to this reel and he was talking about that tyranny is a mask for fear because they have to keep oppressing you in order to feel like they're in power because they are actually scared of the littlest person saying, I object. You can't
Yep.
object. And don't tell me it's not true because in a way they subconsciously are trying to do reverse psychology with movies like The Patriot or The Hunger Games or V for Vendetta. How do you win? You rebel.
Yep.
Not against necessarily the government, but against the tyranny, and not in the aspect of the Revolutionary War. No, you just say, we're not doing it anymore. You have to comply. I say
Yeah.
no. But the majority, if more people say no all at once, like imagine if 500,000 Christians just didn't pay their taxes at the next cycle. They can't get all of you at once.
No.
Secondly, they just did a huge budget cut with getting rid of IRS agents. What is that going to do? You just increase their workload. Let's say the
Right.
next year, a
And then just
million.
keep stringing it out until trial for sure. And then,
Right.
oh, there goes my right to a speedy trial.
Hey, well, again, they're already suspending habeas corpus, which I'm chuckling when
Yeah.
people are telling me with the Lincoln thing. Lincoln was intentionally doing that because he understood we were in a time of war, but as well he understood we were going to war with Rothschilds, and he knew that the banks were against him.
Lincoln also was okay. So there was a little part of Lincoln too that was dirty, right? He was still trying to suspend habeas corpus to go arrest his opposition and then hold him
Yes.
past the election.
Yes.
So it was like, well, that's why you might have got shot in the face too.
Well, I can actually run that episode with you guys, and then you kind of let you guys determine it. But Rome's responsibility for the assassination of Abraham Lincoln, phenomenal book. And yes, I do pull on the dirt on Lincoln, but I actually also have done a lot of reading on his personal life. And after reading that particular thing and seeing what transpired off of that event and prior to that event in history, it's going to make you go, I don't know if he was necessarily the bad guy because holy, what you just avoided, damn. Am I saying it was good to keep a federal? No, because I don't believe in full government. But the aspect, if again, your understanding as a country kid, a country bumpkin, as it were, you're trying to still just preserve what you know, which is, I hate to say it, most Americans, you're going to preserve what you know because you don't, Downside is you don't really understand your enemy because you're a country bumpkin, but you did do some policies to put a couple of roadblocks in the way. right? And I'll break that down of what particular ones would make him go, ah, damn it, he did it again to us. Because they had plans. It's never been a straight course of what they were going to do. They've tried to implement several things over the years, and I'll break it down in that episode. But anyways, a couple more visuals. Again, the Liberty Cap is another variation of this. I think it's important to start looking into the historical origins of this stuff. Um, again, I'm chuckling because I'm noticing they're giving us a surge of a lot of old films or an old concepts lately, right?
That looks like The Handmaid's Tale.
Thank you. I was just about to say that.
Does
I'm
it
drawing a blank on what the first
does
word was. And you notice the similarities there. They're bringing a lot of Catholic aspects and visuals to our forefront, almost like they're ushering in that concept for us to subconsciously accept, right? Even using the word Doge, all the words in the language. You might
That
have
looks like
noticed
Trump too. I'm not gonna lie. If you go back a slide,
this thing.
yeah, that looks
Yeah,
like Trump.
yeah.
I've done side by sides
Uh,
with him. And who was the other guy? Was it Hermes or something like that? It's Adonis. Side by side, I'm like, it looks just like him, guys.
That's weird.
Now, Matt, you said you served in the army, right?
yeah.
You notice this thing, the United States military, the little red Phrygian cap
Ah.
over the insignia?
Ah. Where the
Ah,
senators. Gotcha.
yeah. So somebody pointed that out to me, and I was like, I didn't even know it was on the army thing. But again, going into Sol Invictus and Soldier, that made me
That's
go,
the
ooh,
Senate thing, dude. That's not like no army thing. That's a
there's the Senate,
United
and then there's
States
another one for the
Senate.
army. There's the state of Virginia, and then where's the one for the army on here? He pointed it out immediately to me. But anyways, you look it up for the U.S. Army, and apparently there's supposed to be a red cap somewhere on the insignia. But again, the god of Mithra is wearing this cap. As I've covered before, Mithraism, Magi. I was reading one book, I got like 8 to 14 pages in, and I knew so much more about the Magi as opposed to, oh, they're just some nice wise men that came from the. No, they connect with Mithra. So even the occult equivalents back then were acknowledging that Christ is the one. Not
Even
Hermes reborn regenerated, it's Christ.
even like the Indians, the natives you have way at the bottom who don't even like
Mm-hmm.
they worship completely different gods. Yeah, right there.
Yep.
The Scythian and the Columbia. Is that did I say that
Scythian,
right?
yeah, and they're mentioned in the Bible, the Scythians. I think it's Colossians 3:7 or 3:8.
And he has a dragon on his head.
Dragon,
A serpent.
Phrygian. Yes, and I was immediately thinking of the pharaoh caps, right? With the little serpent coming out in the very center.
Yeah.
Off of the where? The all-seeing eye, the temple, the pineal gland.
Yeah, it looks like they're wearing a giant pyramid on their head.
Yep. Yep. So we see it all the time in our culture, and we also see it around Christmas, do we not? The Sakia, or the Babylonian New Year festival, was celebrated alongside the worship of the Persian goddess Anatis, or the mother of Mithras, and they were known with the little red cap. Of course, there's always variations you can add to it, right? But it's the same thing ultimately. Now, what I was noticing, Phrygian caps, red caps, Mithra, as you just said, looks a little similar to Trump. In Hermetic alchemical traditions, red and black are often used to represent the principles of Sol, which is sun, and Terra, earth, respectively. Red symbolizes the fiery solar and masculine principles, while the black represents the dark, terrestrial, and feminine principles. Combination is seen as a necessary balance for spiritual growth and transformation. The complexities of the human experience, the balance of opposing forces in the pursuit of spiritual growth and transcendence.
Hmm.
Now, this could also be As Above, So Below, or the Star Remphan.
Elon's
Fire,
always rocking it weird
sun,
like that too.
earth. Yes.
Always black with like he wears weird shit.
Well, he was wearing, dude, he was at a cabinet meeting wearing both the hats. And then, like, again, you're supposed to be professional and in a cabinet meeting. And he's like, yeah, what can I say, Mr.
A
President?
ball cap.
I wear a lot of hats. Like, dude, Elon, you suck. You're trying to be hip. You're trying to be hip and cool. You're a freaking billionaire, and you're You're such a sad little character because you want attention and to get a laugh. Really? This is our enemy, folks. What I'm trying to show you as a Christian, we don't have to worry about these people. They're very sad. You are, as they said, Woody said from Toy Story, you are a sad, strange little man. You have my condolences. Farewell.
Farewell.
Let's see, did I skip anything? No, okay. Now scripture implies that Enoch, or perhaps Cain, initiated other deputies and successors 4 generations after Cain's birth. We find that Enoch's great-grandson Lamech still exercising and in fact augmenting the prerogative of divine vengeance. Lamech said to his wives Adah and Zillah, "Listen to me, wives of Lamech, hear my words. I have killed a man for wounding me, a young man for injuring me. If Cain is avenged 7 times, then Lamech is 77 times."
Wow.
Now, receiving authority to govern requires taking an oath which binds the initiate to a code of rights and responsibilities. Interestingly, our word oath is cognate with the Hebrew word pronounced oath, which is the word translated as mark. Interesting. I was thinking mark of the beast. Maybe there's something
So the
here.
oath of the beast.
Mark of Cain, mark of the beast. I was wondering if there's a little something here. So the Lord set a mark upon Cain. Knowing this, we may accurately say the Lord put Cain under oath. An oath visibly represented by the various insignia governments display. The mark then stands for a covenant between God and Cain. It is not the all-encompassing sort of covenant which God struck with the humbly obedient Abraham, and I will establish my covenant between me and thee, and thy seed after thee in the generations, for an everlasting covenant, to be a God unto thee and to thy seed after thee. Cain's unwillingness to obey the letter of Yahweh's commandments made him unfit for intimacy with the divine. In Cain's own words, "From thy face shall I be hid." The exile covenant was strictly limited to assuring God's vengeance against anyone who had threatened Cain's life. In matters of wisdom, correction, instruction, and righteousness, Cain was on his own. He was on his own also if he should try to attack the peaceful. The mark was a covenant of retribution only. Early on, Cain saw that there was profit in provoking assailants, or the more enemies, the more spectacular the displays of vengeance. The more vengeance, the more justice. The more justice, the more power to Cain. A more powerful Cain could do more excellent public works. Does that not sound kind of like our modern government? The more problems, the more you can implement laws, the more you do that.
Yeah.
And the very concept of cities. Who was the founder of cities in the Bible? Cain.
Yeah, I was gonna say it was one of those sons.
Yes.
The construction one.
Yeah. And so, again, and then you even have Nimrod. So both instances, whether pre-flood, after, the guy who implements cities is also where we get the root word for polis, which is the root word for politics. Polis is cities in Greek.
Polis is our governor's name, huh, Matt?
Polis?
Yeah.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Dang, dude. Is that the gay guy?
Yes.
That's how my uncle referred to him. He says, the gay guy that sits in the governor's office. It's like, wow.
He's our king.
Yeah, he's our king. Or queen.
He's our king.
Queen. No, he's the king in this.
Is he the top? Is he the top?
He's the toppy.
We don't know.
That's
He's out there making dumb laws. It's now illegal to they'll take your kid from you if you don't recognize their gender as a child. Your own child.
Wow.
Yeah, that's him.
We're getting closer, man. I'm telling you.
Yeah, and like we literally vote things like out, and then he's passed them just because
He just does it without a vote.
backdoor. Yeah,
Well, that's what I'm saying. And he's Democrat, correct?
yeah.
As Trump does it, they do it. Trump does it. For me, it's like,
I mean,
guys,
yeah,
do you know,
no, it doesn't matter. Both
Yeah.
teams play the same game.
it's the same game, but they're all funneling us as like, I can overrule that. Well, that's BS, because I don't think you should, like, even it's kind of like, let's go back to tribal. If the chief tells me we're going to war and you're over here going, we're depleted with warriors, our women, we would not be able to do this war. Are you gonna still listen to the chief? No, you say, screw you, old man. We're gonna go elect somebody else, and we're gonna migrate until we can regroup our forces. The problem with today is, no, you're doing it. Are you gonna go fight with us? No.
Yeah,
Well, then
they ain't gonna.
shut up.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, those days
So
don't exist anymore.
yeah, it's truly sad, dude. This is where I'm saying where I don't like the idea of someone going to go represent me, like in the state of Connecticut. We're we're always going to have two freaking Democrats representing the state. So what about all the ones that are Republican? What of the libertarian constituents? Some people are not being represented because only your party is representing the entire state. Do you not
Yep.
think that's kind of a problem? It
That's
should be.
representative government.
Right.
Yeah,
It's
that's
representing the majority as opposed to the minority.
mhm.
That's already a problem in and of itself. So it's a screwed up system. That's why I'm over here like, no, let's every man has the right to come in the lodge and speak his piece. If you're an older individual and you're not able to make it, then that's the only time I would make the advocation of, okay, if due to medical issues and stuff like that, he's going to speak on behalf of his father, read his letter or whatever it is. And
Zoom it up nowadays, right? You could always be on it now. There's no reason.
thank you. Okay, yeah. So with modern technology, we have that option. But yeah, I'm just thinking in the archaic sense, is like that would be better because then you also don't have the founding fathers meeting in the freaking midnight hours of discussing how we're
Yeah.
going to create the Constitution, which Constitution means you agreed to this in Latin.
Hmm.
I didn't agree to jack, man.
Nope.
I was
There
put on the
needs to be
school
like a
bus and told to point to
sunset
a flag.
clause on everything. Like every 10 years, just all the laws go away. Like whatever laws from now on, like okay,
There
as they
should be a
pass, it's
rule
a
about this shit
sunset.
happening at
It's
1
got to
a.m.
have a sunset.
Now, are you advocating anarchy and or the purge?
No, not completely. I'm just saying it needs to have a sunset. Every law needs to have an end. We
Right.
can re-vote it in, but until then,
Well,
it has an
it
end
comes
date.
back up to the table of is this where it still
Because
keeps
then
going
it's
or not?
relevant. Yeah.
Right.
Instead of just making laws on top of laws on top of laws and laws for laws.
Right. Because
Done.
then because you get into loopholes like you can't ride a camel down the highway in Nevada.
Yeah.
Where are
How
we
is
going to
this?
find a camel?
Right, but this is a real law where you're just going seriously, seriously. Why is this thing still relevant? Like where it's
Yeah,
there's a
because
few
that
of them.
one time somebody, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. That's why I still have to even take my shoes off when I go to the freaking airport. One dude.
Right. I think it was more that there was one guy who had a bomb in his shoe.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
probably there's probably been drugs and all that, right? The shoe bombers in Colorado too.
but how do you
Everything.
trigger? You jump up and stomp really hard down to make it go off,
He was trying to light it because you could still have lighters. So,
dude. Tell you
Had like a fuse on his shoe. What?
yeah. And like
through the laces.
they had caught him in the act of it too, trying to light it.
Anyways,
Like he failed at failing. That's
yeah, he
great.
feels that feeling.
That's great. That's great. But yeah,
Um,
the reason you got to take your shoes off.
that's lovely. I thought it was just because we're being respectful to the Japanese.
Yeah.
Um, so I keep trying to tell folks is that yes, well, ultimately Satan is who they worship. You have to understand the premise of how do I best define this? So basically, if you have a philosopher that's teaching you basically the precepts of Satan without actually having Satan, it's kind of like, okay, so what's his name? Well, it'll be Nimrod's son Tammuz and or Hermes, Baphomet, Mithra, Sol Invictus, all equivalents. Now again, as I said before, in Baphomet's right arm, you have the tattoo of Solve, which is to bring something from one realm into an existence. As you just said, it looks kind of eerily similar to Trump. Who's to say they're not manipulating something with the genetics or affirmation that this is the guy? And then in Baphomet's left arm is Coagula, which is blood clot, which again, I think we all know what that is without having to say the word. Now, the other thing I found interesting as I'm reading this book on Mithra, I was going on either side of the two small figures, almost duplicates of Mithra. One holds a torch upwards, the other holds a torch in reverse. These dataphors of torchbearers represent the powers of life and death, so rebirth, regeneration, reincarnation. They believe the same thing, similar, just the inverted way. And waking and waning, of spring and autumn, the ascent and descent. They are also symbols of the two great powers represented in the alchemetical and Rosicrucian tradition. Now, Rosicrucian are Christian Masons, aka Marmari. By the right hand raised with the finger pointed upwards. and with the left hand, the finger pointed downwards. Accompanied by the mystic utterances coagula and salve, collect and disperse, fix and volatilize. So they are both one and the same individual because the utterance of their pledge, their oath, is one and the same.
They have Forrest Gump. Have you seen that when he's saying goodbye to Jenny on the bus and he's wearing a Baphomet star and he does the up, hand down? It's like, geez,
Dude,
that's a great movie.
I hate that movie. I'm gonna be honest. Hear me out. What that movie teaches us is it's okay to simp on a woman that mistreats you. That is not acceptable behavior for a guy that literally gives you everything. He gives you time, he gives you patience, and then you finally get freaking AIDS or whatever it is, and you say, you know what? I have nothing left to give you, but here's my kid from somebody else.
They used to this might get our show canceled right here, right now, but they used to let the special ed kids into the military, and that's what that's about, right? So
I made it.
Yeah. not that kind of special. You signed up special. But then, right, like they found out that it was more work for these guys to take care of the special ed kids because they had to help them all the time.
Right. And they're slowing down the rest. It's kind of like a wounded person. You're just like, we don't even got time to drag this person around all over the place. So let's.
So really, what the movie was teaching us is when it hits the fan, don't worry about saving the weaker.
Wow.
Because there will be a Forrest Gump in all of them. So the movie's either about leaving them behind
It's
or
true. You can hit him in the head
retard
with
strength.
a 2x4 and he's just going to keep going. It's awesome.
You guys are so canceled. I did not endorse and or condone any of the words formerly said by Michael and or Matthew at this point.
None of those were bad.
like
those are culturally acceptable. All right, back to it.
Anyways, etymology of the Persian god of light. Now, again, I found that interesting. Operation Warp Seed. Warp Seed. And
what's his new one too? Star, isn't it?
Stargate.
There you go.
Okay,
right?
okay. So
Light.
that started out. I know what you're talking about on the U.S. Army SEAL. It is like that, and it started off as the Department of whatever we started off with, like Department of the Armory or Department of something, and it was like yeah, that was like the precursor to the Army SEAL, and that's the way we stamped our documents and stuff like that. Even so, in
Which tells you all you need to know. And again, I'm chuckling because you take an oath to serve your country, right? And Mithras is known as the god of contractual power.
Is he slaying a bull or a lamb?
So according in Mithraic cults, to slay the bull of heaven is to kill God.
Okay.
Oh, wait a minute. And this guy is this is your guy? To slay God? Isn't that what Nimrod tried to do, to go to war with heaven?
How weak is your god?
Well, I'm saying that's our god who Mithras is slaying.
Yeah. Well, they're calling it weak, I guess.
Well, yeah, but
like your god couldn't even do that. Like, I mean, like, it's impossible.
That's what again in the occult
they think it is.
Harness the alchemy, we could become our own god, so we don't really need him. Now, part of them believe this. Then there's other parts that are going, guys, we got to build a bunker. Why? Because he's going to get mad at us for all the stuff we're doing. I hate to say it. This is honestly where we're at. And the thing is, they're putting on such a facade for us because ultimately, their only play at this point is we've gone too far now. We have to go full steam ahead. So we're going to take as many of his freaking converts with us as possible. That's ultimately one of the greatest goals is, all right, well, if we're going to lose, we're going to take a bunch of souls with us. It's kind of like that classic scene in the movie. If I'm going to fall off this cliff, I'm taking you with me. And you're like, no. I don't care.
Cut the rope.
Do something.
You're totally right, though. They are trying to pass off what is this again? The Corno Ducal. They are trying to pass it off. They're saying, oh no, it's if you look at the SEAL explanation, they're calling it a Phygerian cap, just like you said. It's like, okay, same thing. Tomato.
It's the same thing as the red caps of MAGA, and I will be showing how they do connect. It's just like, oh yeah, And don't tell me it like even with J6, dude, that's the epiphany of John the Baptist. If you
Where
look
did
at
the
the Catholic
French get their
tradition,
berets? Is that going to
I
be
would
in
imagine it's another variation. I haven't done
like
specifically in that, but I would imagine it's another variation of the same damn thing.
I'm thinking it's yeah, it's
Yeah.
pretty similar to that, right? I mean, it just gets floppier and flatter.
Yeah, It's like let's cut off a little bit more of the edge because that's a little bit excess. A little sharper. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, the French. Matt hates the French.
Wow. I got some Brit roots, so we're on the same page. From Mithraism to Freemasonry, another little thing that I found, a history of ideas. 12th century separate the decline in Roman Mithraism from the dawn of Freemasonry. Now I'm chuckling when I'm reading this book, they're trying to tell me that it's similar to the Freemasons. I'm like, no, it is the Freemasons, you because it's the same thing. They met in secret, but they met in caves. Because a lot of the Iranians used to believe the sky was made of stone, and so sometimes they would chisel a hole in this cave to find a particular star alignment. Again, with the Magi and Maga. And as I was saying with J6, Epiphany of John the Baptist, allegedly the day he was baptized by John the Baptist Christ. And or as a child, an adolescent, he was visited by the Magi. The root word for Magi? Maga. Interesting. Interesting.
That's
So
crazy to think about.
for me, it's like, dude, okay, so when I'm reading the Bible, and now when I have some of this occultic perspective, or what the baddies, the pagans, quote unquote, were doing and thinking, you start reading it, going, dude, do you understand the significance of the occult acknowledging he is even the guy, as opposed to looking for Hermes reborn, you are acknowledging that Christ is the guy. Whoa, that's huge, dude. That's huge. Anyways, um, I threw this one in here because I thought it was quite relevant. Is that Trump's pick for the lead of the U.S. military, Pete Hegseth, was flagged by a fellow service member for tattoos linked to white supremacy. And he has Gus Volt stamped on his arm. This is the cross of Jerusalem right here. And then he has a spinal column with a sword on it, which I'm sure if I looked harder and longer on this thing, I would find some very occultic meaning affiliated with this. But then he has also Ben Franklin's the snake that's getting all cut up. I can't remember the exact phrase that goes along with it, but Ben Franklin, I'm
Yep.
related to. He's an eighth generational cousin, but he's a Freemason. So you're having all of this occult symbology stamped all over you, and we're deporting men out of our country for extremist tattoos without hearings to El Salvador. What
Not if you're
about
white.
this? Dude,
Yeah.
well, dude, I'm Chuck. I just posted this one of my stories. There was this Cuban guy advocating for MAGA. Now they're thinking of deport. They have him in custody, and they're going to deport him. I'm like, this has got to be. You're sitting in your cell right now, going, "What the hell,
Meanwhile, Trump's taking a plane from Qatar who houses terrorists.
dude?" Or it was the other one from Syria.
Oh
Basically,
yeah,
said, if you get off
new
my case, I'm
the
going to
new
let you build a
president.
Trump Tower in my country. Okay,
Their new president that Trump went and met last year was on the bounty for $10 million.
yep.
Dead or alive. That's how easy. You just take over. It doesn't matter if you're a good or bad person. You're good to go.
Basically, if you kiss the ring, I don't really care about your background. Huh?
Absolutely.
That's ultimately what it's coming down to. So, anyways, with Kabbalah, Freemasons, New Age, New Age is Freemasonry. And a lot of people don't know what it is. Let me break it down very simply because I have a lot of New Agers that are following me. Once in a while, and I'm like, "What are you following me for?" That's New Ageism. Is basically thinking you can ascend or it's some kind of matrix and you just ascend through I'm like, no, you have to submit, not ascend. It's basically thinking that you can get Christ consciousness. Same thing. And the Knights Templar arrived to the Holy Land on a mission to reclaim the treasure that they believe was rightfully theirs. I've covered this before. But it is also highly suspected that the European royalty descended from the Jewish elders that had fled the Holy Land in 70 AD when it was invaded by the Romans. Now, the reason I find that interesting is, as I just said, with Mithraism, we're seeing the emergence of Freemasonry literally in our government, controlling our government, connecting with the Catholic Church, connecting with the Jewish elders.
Well, remember, you were told we put God's will in our politicians. Remember?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, come on.
Dude, it's or the
His
voice
number
of the
5 tattoo, by the way, that's 187th Infantry Division. They're under 101st. That's your number 5 one there. That's
so
their
what's the
unit.
spine
And
represent?
I don't know what any of it represents. I'm just telling you what it is.
Gotcha.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's his infantry or whatever.
Yeah, that's his unit patch.
That's pretty sick, though. It does look cool. I'm not gonna lie.
Dude, way cooler than mine. Way
Yeah,
cooler.
I got a lot of tattoos. I like them.
Well, just don't get Solvang Coagula, man.
Dude, I
Whatever.
saw a guy when you were talking about that. I literally saw a guy this week with it on his arms.
Seriously?
Yeah, I was like, he don't know what it means though. He's a death metal, you know. He's like, he don't know.
Well, dude, it's kind of, or he does. It's just because he saw somebody else in the band do it or some other artist, and he's like, "Oh, that's cool. I'm gonna get it too." And you have no idea what you're doing. Forgive them, Father. They
Yeah,
know not what they do.
yeah. That doesn't count though.
Yeah. Now, if you are going by biblical cosmology, they say there is a glass thick dome over the earth, right? Which I do believe there's some truth to it because Baphomet sits on a dome. And the whole premise of what Lucifer said in Isaiah 14:14, I will ascend to be like the God Most High. Like it says, God, the earth is his footstool. So he's not a seal on a ball. He's sitting above it with his throne, right? And you got waters above, waters below, as above, so below. Channeling, water, bankruptcy, water, debt,
Yeah,
drowning in debt. The water aspect is very important in the occult. And even the aspect of Space Force. Who signed this? Was this Obama, Biden,
Trump.
Trump?
Yeah,
Yeah. So I'm chuckling because I this pastor, Dean Odell, wrote a whole book about biblical cosmology. And yet he's an advocate for Trump. And I'm like, dude, 2 words. Space Force. This does not help your case. The, you know what I'm saying? It's
it's a
like,
literal goat.
yes, it's the Baphomet goat. This is why I found it interesting. Who do we have sitting over the globe or the Earth,
Trump.
Mm-hmm.
and who calls himself the greatest of all time? A goat.
You know what's crazy too? I know he's above the magician, but it almost
Yes.
looks like he's sitting above the new Pope Leo.
Yeah, well, he's holding in his hand the thing that's supposed to be held by the Pope. I don't have a zoom in for this particular presentation, but the thing that he's holding is the something cruxus.
Okay, yeah.
It is supposed to represent in charge of the 3 realms of heaven, earth, and below. And he's holding that in one hand, and then he's holding this eagle on the other.
Is that the
And
thing they bonk him in the head with, or is that a different thing?
Like a scepter?
No, for the Pope, they bonk him in the head like 3 times with
Do they?
something. Yeah.
I'm gonna
I haven't
Google
It
it.
seen
might even
that,
be a
but
pig.
there's an eagle on it. It might be a little wary. But again, the tower next to it. And dude, I was looking this up the other day. There's 22 trump cards. That's really what they're called, the tarot cards, trump cards. Tarot cards, trump cards.
What?
Yeah, right. And then it's judgment underneath him. And again, the magician, and he's printing out 3D cities or freedom cities.
And the Wheel of Fortune is people right next to it.
Yes,
Good
and then
luck.
in these stars, there's human faces in them.
And you
You were
can't
said to be like gods. The angels were known as star walkers.
and we've seen the other covers. They had like Bashar and Russia on them and Obama. They've had all this stuff that's happening.
Yes. And or happening and or was going to eventually happen.
Yes.
Again, 2017, 1 plus 7, 8 plus 2, 10. X. The world in X. Interesting.
Planet Trump.
Yes. So I'm not going to read all of it, just highlighting. This is from the New Yorker. The World According to Elon Musk's Grandfather by Jill Lepore, September 19th of 23. His name was Joshua Heldman. And in his second tract of the MSU holds the International Conspiracy in Health, Heldman blamed the collectivist internationalist conspiracy from Kennedy to Kenyatta for centralized health schemes that include national health insurance, the various pharmaceuticals, including fluoride in water, another conspiracy, all of which he considered anti-Christian infringements on human liberties. If some people were not alarmed by all of this, he wrote, it was because of mind control. When a Christian subscribes to this, it is the result of concentrated, intentional brainwashing due to the international conspiracy run by the special people. Submitted by the National Health Care was one way of the conspirators were allowing the black or colored political puppets to take control or responsible of white people. Now, I found this interesting because what are we experiencing right now with Trump's legislation with South Africa?
He claims white genocide.
Mm-hmm. And we're having Elon Musk from that region.
Yep.
And then Peter Thiel from that region. This is Elon's grandfather. And then, come on.
The apartheid.
Boston Rare Maps. This one popped up on my thing. And as I kept digging, I was going, holy moly, Batman, the Technocracy Inc. and the Technate of America back in 1940. Elon Musk's grandfather, his map with the inscription, in science we trust. You notice anything about that map?
Where's the rest of it?
You notice anything about the map with where it's all geography is being shown? America is part of Canada.
Is that Greenland?
And Mexico. All merged into one island. Now, isn't this interesting?
Because why is that part of South America, though?
Everything Trump wants to take, too, that he talks about.
And that's exactly what he's sitting over. America? It is the same exact thing, dude. Technocracy is Trump sitting on planet Trump. This is what he wants. I want Greenland. I want Canada. It's like, okay, you're literally following Elon Musk's grandfather. Now, I wouldn't say this is anything weird, but he's in the administration.
That's Venezuela.
Huh?
Yes. We'll take it. It's got no government.
Are we learning geography now?
And then, like, those whatever, like, Cuba? Those are just, what are the other ones over there then?
What do you mean, Mexico, these little floating islands?
There's like south of Mexico. El Salvador, I think, is part of all that.
Yeah, Panama. That's Colombia.
Guatemala?
My dad lives
right down
south
there. Like you guys are still up Panama? In Central America. Good job. But I'm down in South America. What are the other ones off to the east?
That's
because I gave you Venezuela.
Colombia, isn't it?
Is over to the west.
What's right next to it? The other one you could cross the border in right there.
Guyana,
it's dangerous.
Georgetown.
Yeah.
Libya.
Suriname and French Guyana.
Why would you want that? Trade?
It's weird how they sectioned that off from Brazil and
In Science We Trust is back in the first half century. A group called Technocracy Incorporated wanted to recognize society by putting scientists in charge. The movement flamed out, but its underlying message still appeals to many in Silicon Valley. On October 13th, which is an interesting day because that's the Feast of Sukkot, it's also, Columbus Day, a Regina chiropractor named Joshua Heldman, Elon's grandfather, appeared in city court to face 2 charges under the Defense of Canada Act. It was a fantastic and extremely rare 1940 map depicting the geopolitical program of technocracy at the time of the influential, organized, fueled by the Depression-era anxiety, quack economics, and isolationism, and more than a soupcon of fascism. So you're not out of turn to call somebody a particular a fascist because it is literally what he's connected to here. The map envisions much of the Americas and Eastern Pacific Basin as merged with a single Technate of America to be ruled by a technically skilled, empirically driven, non-partisan elite. The Technate is shown as stretching from Greenland west to the international date line and south to encompass the Caribbean, parts of Colombia, Venezuela,
Guyanas.
And the Guyanas. Yeah, you're right, Matt.
Probably butchering that one.
Doesn't that sound like Elon? Empirically driven. You want to take over a planet.
Well, I was
planets.
Looking into something else about the banana republics, and they have this basically fountain of youth technology on one of the islands. down in the Caribbean, and I was going, well, there's that missing link that I didn't know about before, but Elon is connected with it. A lot of rich people are connected with it. I was going, and we don't talk about that in the mainstream news, do we?
No.
Never. Its territory was colored in red, the semi-official color of the Technocracy movement, also seen on its logo. The small circular symbols indicate defense bases. Now, isn't that interesting that we're building an Iron Dome? And you just said that Canada's also interested in it. Blah, 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 blah.
Golden.
Are we going to get
Golden
Mexico
Dome.
and a few others interested in it as well?
What's the point of it? We have an ocean protecting us.
Ultimately, dude, aren't you scared of God? If he drops wormwood, wouldn't you want a defense system?
No.
Well, I'm saying if you're the bad guys,
Yes,
or let's
yes,
say
okay,
you're trying
good
to create a surveillance state, and you're telling us under the guise it's an Iron Dome, but it ends up actually being a prison internment camp where you're going, I can't even leave the country without possibly getting shot down. That's correct.
What happened to that Mithra thing that was slaying God? Why are you taking up a defense? Just
Well, the
saying.
thing is that let's say God brings war to you, and you can't bring it up to him because you failed at the Tower of Babel, and now 2.0 ain't going so well. So you're creating a defense aspect of, well, if he tries to come to get us, we can at least hold him off. I hate to tell you this, these people are that stupid. They genuinely think they can defend themselves against God.
No.
It's like, dude, have you not heard of the rebellion of Korra? What happened? He opened up the earth, swallowed him up, and that was the end of it. You really think you could build a defense to stop any, meteorite, wormwood, whatever, what have you?
You can't even, the angels he punished can't even look up.
Mm-hmm.
How are you going to fight that? You can't even look up?
It's like they come out and they're just hunched over there saying, isn't the sun nice? I don't know. Why? I can't move my neck.
just great tans on their back and nothing on it.
That's probably why they wear cloaks. But the key project of this construction was a chain of far-flung defense bases along the Technate's borders, as shown as the Technate of America offered here. Behind these, Technate would be entirely secure, its economy self-sustaining and independent of global trade. Does that not sound kind of similar to the tariff thing going on right now? And its defense is sufficient to deter would-be invaders. As such, there would be no need to become involved in conflicts in either Europe or Asia. Opposition to American entry into wars raging outside of our area is a keystone of the Technocracy's current basic policy. Lest this policy is misconstrued by uninformed persons in the public, Technocracy points out that this is a position is not held on the basis of humanitarian or pacifist tenets, means you have to fight. America is worth fighting for, but we need to fight for America only on American terms and from our own continental defenses. Competent strategy will keep war out of our area.
And this is
basically, we're militant, but on our borders only, which sounds great to a lot of people. So it's like a militia. Yes, but for the scientists that you're fighting for. Oh.
This is right after Trump lost the election to Biden, pretty much, that this came out.
Yeah.
And he's probably like, oh, okay, we'll read it this way.
So as I kept reading, I just chuckle. As demonstrated on the map of Technocracy offers here, geopolitical program was simultaneously expansionist and isolationist. The rationale was the neutral resources and the natural boundaries of this area make it independent, self-sustaining, a geographical unit. With Technocracy Inc.'s authoritarian tendencies.
Yeah, deportations.
Yes, and this is where I was going. Authoritarian, when you saw, I'm not sure if you watched that one on my Rumble. If folks haven't seen it, look it up as we're saying this. Elon Musk's Dark MAGA Assemble. It basically, Elon released this video. It was like a 2.5-minute clip, but so much was crammed into it. Basically, it was a whole bunch like Attack on Titan, zombies, people with like glazed eyes, zombies walking around, authoritarian state where they're kicking in doors and stuff like that with police wearing riot gear and stuff like that. It was like, how is America winning when everybody's a zombie with glazed zombie, very medieval? Yeah. And one of the things they showed was from the series anime.
All I hear on like the other side of that is Shiza! Like just like the other person on the other side of the door, like, what was that?
You're hiding enemies of the state under your floorboards, aren't you? Maybe.
Elon Musk's supposed to be like a finance officer. What's he out here doing? Kicking in doors.
Right,
Well,
right.
it's
And
like,
then I
what
have
are
to
you
say
what are you
what?
showing
Like,
us ultimately? Because they
hail
were doing a bunch of
Doge.
stuff with Trump, and it makes you go. They showed one clip from dude, the third movie, the first 20 something minutes, okay. The rest of it, I was like, what the frick are you doing with this frick? What am I watching? Am I on psychedelics? Anime. Um, but the scene that they showed was this guy called Griffin, who was a mercenary leader, and in order to obtain his power by these demons that were speaking in his head, he had to walk over the bodies of everybody in his group. Now, he was known in the first or second movies as a really great mercenary leader. He loved his guys, but in order to obtain this power, he had to walk over the corpses in order to ascend to the throne. And that is the clip that they show in the movie. Is him looking at the castle and walking over the dead people to get it. I was
What?
going, how is this good for MAGA? Why out of each movie is like 2 hours something long. Out of all the clips for this 2.5 minute clip that you're going to show me, why is that particular 2 second thing right there is what you show me? It's sus. It's sus. Now, is there anything with my crazy thinking with technocracy possibly being a thing going on with Trump right now? I ask you to look at the inauguration with all these tech bosses now in alignment with Trump. You have the CEO
Absolutely.
of Google.
Yeah.
You have Jeff Bezos, Apple guy,
What
um,
happened to
Zuckerman, Zuckerberg. But,
yeah, what happened to old Zuck? Like just switching up teams like that. That's crazy.
or is it intentional of making it look like if you don't bow down to Trump,
That's
so the
crazy.
best option is if even billionaires are bowing to you, I should bow to you too,
It is pretty
right?
crazy
Like
how
I don't get
everybody
why
just
people are
falls
on
in line.
teams, let alone switch them.
Right, right.
I
If
have a
Even
hard
if
time
they're truly on
grasping
teams,
that.
even with
yeah.
Like,
the vote today that he couldn't get through the Senate of his big budget bill, even the hardliners, like midway through the day, they released an article that they were like, "No, we'll fall in line." Those were their literal quotes, and it's like, what?
They're
Everybody
scared,
is.
dude. I'm
Yeah,
honestly looking at this going, I think Christians are actually going to be not scared for majority of this, real Christians, because they're just going to be chuckling at how absurd they have to propel this all to kick into, because people are catching on. There's a
absolutely.
decent amount of people, and if I hate to say it, dude, there's going to be a certain point where it's like this is an intelligent rebellion at this point. You know damn well what you're ignoring and what you're advocating for, and your silence is compliance on a lot of these issues. I
Zuckerberg's the
deserve
compliance guy. I feel like he
Yes.
is just like, hey, this is how you comply, people.
it. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And
And
now
the
he's doing it.
Pentagon
Like from
signs
the
AI
Minister
deal.
of Compliance, we got like
Well, on his updated user terms of agreement for Facebook, I think it's number 5 or 8. Poss based off the laws of the country, possible terms of imprisonment. Meta, Facebook, right there. And I'm
that's
going, so if I post something that's against the administration or suddenly upgrade some bill that says you can't insult Trump in any way, shape, or form, or you can't scrutinize anti-Semitism, but you can lock me up for jail time? Like they were already trying to say with the boycott thing that I could get possible in a year or 2 years of prison if I boycott Israeli products.
Yeah, yeah. Get out of
We
here.
were this close, folks. It probably might be still lurking around until that's actually implemented. But this is not something. It's like, man, you're just shooting from the hip and you're being paranoid. No, this is legit. It's literally dangling over our heads like a precarious chandelier, if you will. And when it comes crashing down, it ain't gonna be pretty.
Mhm.
No man will
Mhm.
be able to buy and sell. I wonder why that would be a thing. The Pentagon signs AI deal to help commanders plan military maneuvers. Now, AI technology starting to get it already with our military. This is actually forging right before our eyes. And
I
who's
would
afraid?
argue that it's more safe to I would argue that it's less safe to have a drone without any intelligence or a bomb without any intelligence is like a quote from like one of their defense contractors. Like
What?
it's better for it just to have a mind of its own than to have no mind at
It
all.
knows what we want until it does an Uno reverse card and the machines rise up against you, and or the demons that are controlling said machines are like, yeah, we're done with you. What? No, please.
Yeah. Have you do you watch Black Mirror at all?
No.
They the new season, they have this one. They make a video game, and they're called the Throng, and they're little sentient guys that live in the video game, and they convince the creator to take care of them like a Tamagotchi pet when we were young. You know those little games,
Yeah.
but they become alive, and they convince this guy to like get into his head. So he downloads them in there, and then he just shows like a QR code, and then all the robots take over because he shows it through like a county government camera or whatever, and it gets into the government system.
Dude,
I'm like,
it's
dude, that's not very
fiction
far off.
anymore. This is we're this close to
Like,
that
yeah.
actually being a thing.
Remember when iRobot was a little scary? We're already at iRobot.
Oh
You
yeah,
know? Like, yeah, those things are popping up. Like, I mean, I'm already ready to buy one.
yeah.
I mean, if it,
I need my
Michael
laundry
and I
folded.
already talked, like, yeah, if it folds
Don't
our
do
laundry
it.
and cooks our dinner for 30 grand, might be kind of a good investment.
No, dude, that's what I'm trying to warn people. That's just he's gonna have an army of robots ready by 2027. That's the year of the goat.
Unless you're
Now,
volunteering, bro.
I wouldn't necessarily want that in my house because when they flip the switch, they say Armageddon in the years ahead. It was supposed to be in 2027, and then this rabbi, after Trump's ear getting clipped, he said that there's going to be an announcement regarding Trump on October 2nd of 2027. Now that is the start of a new Jewish New Year. Now let's say you're going to announce the second son of David or whatever on the start of a Jewish New Year after an Armageddon like event, and you declare yourself king of the world, which Donald means world ruler. Let's say you declare this, and you're going to have to implement martial law because this is an election season, right? We're about a month away from our next election cycle, and suddenly you find out you're a messiah figure? Well, by golly, I can't just let somebody random get into office. I'm going to have to implement martial law. And in walks the robots, and you just happen to have something doing laundry that suddenly comes upstairs and says, please comply, sit on the couch,
You could take it out.
download this code.
I've totally watched Terminator enough times to know how this is done, bro.
Yeah.
Well, I just showed that clip today, and 2029 is actually when everything kicks off with the Terminator movie. When the thing's blowing up, that was the year that they give us. I'm like,
Is my name Sarah Connor?
that's what Sarah. Yeah, that's the thing. She was going up to the fence, and they were showing 2029 at
Yep,
like
the
the end of
new
the movie or
kids.
whatever. I was like, oh, guys, alien invasion years ahead is what they're showing us. And then you're looking at like, was it 2032, where you had the Demolition Man with
Yeah, with a
Sylvester
Phoenix,
Stallone. I'm like,
Simon
guys,
Phoenix.
yeah, it was like we're getting pretty damn close to this stuff.
I love Demolition Man. That's such a cool movie.
Dude, what's the one where Robin Williams plays like a robot?
Centennial Man.
Yeah.
There you go.
That was a good one. I like, what if he was a nice, friendly robot like that robot?
Don't
They
buy
all
the
can be
fiction,
programmed to
man.
kill.
Come on. Who's afraid of Peter Thiel? The new biography suggests we all should be. How Thiel, in Silicon Valley, which we were just saying with the technocrats, Silicon Valley funded J.D. Vance's sudden rise. Okay, so we got a technocracy guy with Elon and in J.D. Vance having a word right next to the president. Now, Trump got taken out for a little bit. Let's say, JD is right on schedule. He knows what we're supposed to be implementing and doing, right? If there's another attempt and it actually be a little bit more critical than what we had with the Butler rally, let's say there's something like that. Now, first Thiel, now Trump's how billionaires threaten free speech. A euphoric tech industry is ready to celebrate Trump and itself. Peter Thiel company reportedly helped NSA spy program. Peter Thiel, the tech billionaire influencing top members of the Trump administration. Peter Thiel, I defer to Israel. Videos surfacing when Palantir text giant struggling to answer question about clients' use of AI-generated kill lists. Kill lists, Jen?
What?
So it's like, what conspiracy theorists are currently, blah, 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 blah. AI, tell me, look through the algorithms, find blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Who's following Candace Owens, this guy, and this guy? Algorithms give me this as this, and you funnel it down, right? Statistics of gullibility. You find out who's following what, who could be manipulated, right? It's probability.
And he's Elon Musk's partner, right? PayPal. So
yes,
he's got access to
drop the Y, you get Papple.
There you go, Papple. He's so he's got access to Grok.
Wait,
Yeah.
yeah, I think I
See?
have an image of Grok on this one. I think that's this one. I might not. But the cent coin is the same thing as it was for one of the Economics magazine covers. Now, ironically, again, the Economist is showing us something of Trump burning money with a gasoline thing, which again, is that supposed to be reminiscent of, gasoline prices? Is that supposed to be burning the economy in general? Is that supposed to be a
Yeah.
double
When did they
Inflation.
post that?
It could be inflation.
Yes, that as
I
well. That's
mean,
kind of it could be a
it could have
three-way
so many different things. I mean,
interpretation.
yeah, yeah. A picture speaks 1,000
Well, I
words,
mean,
right?
he's blowing all of our money right now, so it's
Right. Is
obvious.
any of
Our
that
money, not
his
their money.
money?
Yeah.
Yeah, like does any of it look like it's his?
Well, dude,
Not in
every time
my
I'm hearing
point of view, but
we're going to be making Americans this many million dollars this year. Okay, how come my bank account still is under like $1,000?
Yeah. Remember the
Well, we're
whole
making it for Americans. Which Americans?
we're finding money here. You guys might all get $5,000. Now it's like,
Yeah, it's like
oh no, we're
chasing
gonna
the carrot on
spend
the
the most
stick.
ever.
It's like I don't know. Thank you. Go away.
defense budget that crap needs to still go. That's
Yeah.
dumb.
So the White House has revealed that the U.S. could potentially use its gold reserves to acquire more Bitcoin. Huh? Meanwhile, China's gold reserves have reached a record high of 73.6 million fine troy ounces in February. Over the past 2.5 years, China's gold reserves have increased by 11 million ounces. China is laughing at Trump for buying Bitcoin. U.S. is buying digital fool's gold, while China buys the real thing. Moreover, the Chinese realize that Bitcoin is a scam, which has sold 20 billion in Bitcoin back in January. Now, here's my counterpoint. While we're reading something like that, and everybody's going, yeah, it's a scam. And all. Okay, so here's the thing. If you want people reliant on a beast system, it's going to be digital. We can give and take away at a snap of a finger. If you want to break the BRICS alliance, how would you do that? Because we don't have the money because we're broke. But what if we could pay off our national debt like that? Wouldn't China and BRICS suddenly be reeling because they can't keep up with Bitcoin and somehow somebody rises from the ashes as this brilliant maneuver, economically speaking, that the world has never seen before? And this makes people say, you know what? If it solved our national debt and it broke the BRICS alliance, wouldn't I be okay with getting rid of the physical dollar? Especially if it's brought to you by your MAGA messiah?
Yeah.
Now, has he said anything on this? Well, yes.
We'll pay off our $35 trillion, hand him a little crypto check, right? We'll hand him a little Bitcoin and wipe out our $35 trillion.
But how do you want it to be more prominent in America? How will that work?
Oh, it's going to work easily. It's already prominent. It's moving along. It's very loosely regulated. That's one of the reasons it's moving along. But it is a different form of a currency, and it's going to end up benefiting the country. But if we shut it down, like, Biden's trying to shut it down, Biden doesn't have the intellect to shut it down. Can you imagine this guy's telling you to shut something down like that? He has no idea what the hell it is. But if we don't embrace it, it's going to be embraced by other people. It's a massive thing already. Did you read where it's bigger than any company in the world already? I mean, if you look at the market, it's bigger than many countries. It's a very big thing. If we're not going to be the leader, we have the people that are the leaders. I know some of them. They're very smart. And if we don't embrace it, other countries are going to embrace it. Other countries will anyway. But we can be the leader, and we might as well be the leader.
So I'm not so. He's
Government
implying.
bonds. That's the way government bonds work.
Yes.
There you
But
go.
you're just doing it with a Bitcoin spin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now it's fancy.
Yes. And it's also Cryptocyrus, cryptids. Osiris being equivalent of Nimrod. I'm just going interesting, guys, because again, X, Osiris. As you were just saying, the Grok symbol here is on here. And this was back in 1988. Whoa.
Well, I mean, he's had it all planned since 1940.
Well, Elon's grandfather laid out a good
Yeah.
blueprint, but when Trump was born was 46, right?
I got no idea.
Yeah, I think he was born in 46, if I remember correctly, under a blood moon at 9. It was like 91.1, 9/11.
What?
It's like, yeah, it was like, again, somebody did the star math thing, and I was going, damn, you got another 9/11 there.
No.
The color red insignia signifies China due to its coronavirus. Burning physical money to impose global cryptocurrency. A phoenix, similar with Trump we just saw, and a reference to Bitcoin on his chest, and a phoenix. Now, Trump is like a phoenix. He's got a phoenix in the Oval Office. The imagery is there. You know what I'm saying? The imagery is there that they're showing us coming up from the ashes. And this little fleur-de-lis of France, that's also the little tuft on Baphomet's head.
So is he telling us he's going to burn the money and then he's going to bring us out? He's literally just setting us up like everybody
Or
else.
one world currency, yeah. And you have to program this. It's for basically what I think is going to happen is the Doge is eliminating things that are going to be obsolete to the New World Order. Right? We're not going to need a Department of Education. We're not going to need this. Why? Because you're going to be literally Soylent Green. You know, you're going to be antennas for our 5G. When we bring out our kids, they're going to be going through you like parasites, quite literally, but in an electrical aspect. This is why they would be promoting an aspect of a zombie dark maga symbol, like, right? Because I can work and run through everybody like the Matrix movies. Literally. Yes,
Yeah.
literally. Through you. And again, demons with, as Elon has said, and I think I have that clip, with AI, we are summoning the demon.
Dude, my robot's gonna be so cool.
Dude, why do you keep promoting that? Stop it, Matt. Smartphones to soon become obsolete. BCIs like Neuralink are the way forward, says Elon Musk, who was formerly Klaus Schwab's World Economic Young Global Leader. This is Global Politics of 2022 by J.D. Rucker. You can look that up. Elon Musk also has his younger brother, who's also on the board of Chipotle, just in case folks wanted to know that. Kimball Musk is on the young global leaders of the World Economic Forum. Elon has worn the jacket at the Met Gala, New World Order, or Novus Order Seclorum on his back. Ivanka, as well as Zuckerberg. Again, this is the White House Archives, March 7th, 2022. A young global leader. It was honored as a young global leader by the World Economic Forum of 2015, right before Trump runs for office. Talk about grooming, right?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
So for me, I'm chuckling when people are saying, no, we don't like the World Economic Forum. They're cantankerous. It's like, yet everybody around you is somehow affiliated with that.
Who picked all these people?
Who selected these people? Yeah.
Yeah.
No phones in the future. Again, as Elon said, again, this is Newsmax. This is far right. Elon Musk, AI will bring universal income for all. Okay. Elon Musk, we are summoning the demon with artificial intelligence. A equals 1. I equals 9. AI equals X. 10, Osiris rising. 10, Melkut, Osiris. That's the bottom of Hermetic Kabbalah tree of life. That's what 10 equals. So this is what he said. Again, this is the actual clip, so people don't think I'm just citing things randomly.
About mass unemployment. This is going to be a massive social challenge. And I think ultimately we will have to have some kind of universal basic income. I don't think we're going to have a choice.
Universal basic income.
Universal basic income. I think it's going to be necessary.
So it means that unemployed
The
people
Soviets did that. It's called soup lines.
Because there is no job. Machine robot is taking over.
There will be fewer and fewer jobs that a robot cannot do better. The harder challenge, much harder challenge, is how do people then have meaning? Like a lot of people, they derive their meaning from their employment. So if you don't have, if you're not needed, if there's not a need for your labor, what's the meaning? Do you have meaning? Do you feel useless?
But not for long.
No, because the Soviets, like, you have like one crew of guys who fixes windows, and then another crew of guys who goes out and breaks windows. So then they both have purpose.
Right.
Yeah, there'll be somebody building the robots that we break.
Right. And somebody's going to go
robots
to the repair
building the
crew,
robots.
go fix them. So basically, Okay, so what is that ultimately? So if I'm right with demons being is not actually a fallen angel, it is a slain Nephilim. Now, Christ is trying to redeem us, keep our souls to go to heaven. In contrast, the fallen angels, they want their kids to have bodies back because they were drowned in the flood, the majority of them, right? So if you want your kids to have bodies, how are you going to do that? Well, when Christ was here, he was casting demons out of human possession. So they want bodies, they want vessels, right? They want possession. Christ wants indwellment. Big difference. So if they take control of you through 5G technology, fill in the blank, and with AI, we are summoning demon. So you plug yourself into their system, you become an international possession grid.
Gosh dang it.
So in essence, you're serving the Nephilim through your bodies, right? With Christ, you're serving your body. Your body is a temple of the Lord.
Yeah.
In contrast, you're serving us because I want to use your body for my own entertainment, my own pleasure, my own whatever I want. If I break something, you have to fix it. Anarchy is an offshoot of archons, means to be against the rulers of cities. Nephilim used to be bullies and bosses of cities. Remember when you were playing games? You got to go defeat the boss. Yeah, this is a thing. So what I'm seeing is freedom cities will end up becoming like little pools of where, districts of the fallen Nephilim. They're going to have districts, but it's all going to be digitally controlled, and they're going to have control via robots and their human servants, their slaves.
Mm-hmm.
Running
That's
around their
neat.
smart cities.
My robot's
Right.
gonna take over.
Universal income is basically a euphemism for digital communism. And the irony I'm finding in all of this, it's not going to be Democrats advocating it. It's going to be Republicans. It's going to be MAGA.
Doesn't matter either way, right? I mean, it's gonna get passed. Like red, white, or blue, it doesn't matter.
Well, that's the thing, dude. That's what I'm saying. Is like stop looking at sides,
Yep.
stop voting, start
Yep.
doing something different and
And
recruiting
that's
people
how
for
they
heaven.
do it too. They're like, oh, well, the blue side wants this, so we want the opposite.
Great. And
And
then
so
they end up
now that's
implementing
the
the same
good thing.
damn thing.
And then they come along like, well, we're gonna do this because the Republicans don't want this. Like,
It's
okay.
always reverse psychology. It's like,
It
aren't you
is
scared of that?
like,
I
and
am
we're not
scared of that. Then you
like,
end up
and
doing the same damn
we're
thing.
not smart enough to see that they're doing it either. It's
Yes,
crazy.
like alien dialect. It's an honest secret, dude. But this is Elon's nanny, and I found a better clip because the other times I tried to play this, it was the other guys couldn't hear it on the other side. She gets a little lengthy in this because I couldn't edit out every single point. But this is what she was saying about Elon when she was nannying him back in Canada.
God bless you. I'm Shalom Girl on YouTube. I love Jesus Christ. He saved me. I want to tell you something. I'm an old lady, kind of. I'm 55. I was born in San Francisco in 1965. When I was a girl, I was in San Francisco. I was procured and sent to work for a family. There were 3 generations. There was a boy, the boy's mother, and the boy's grandfather. They were coming from Africa. They were white as me. I thought they'd be black. They were coming from Africa. And because of something the boy did, I never told what he did. The boy did something very dark when he was very little. And I was just coming to know Jesus. And Jesus saved me. And anyway, the boy did something very dark. And I never told what he did. And then one day I asked someone in the circle, Imelda, Joaquin's mother. I asked Imelda, is he the Antichrist? I was 13 years old. She didn't even blink. She said, no, but he will present the mark. And when you see him do that, the Antichrist will take the stage.
Again, Shalom Girl on YouTube. If you want to find her, I asked to do an interview, but she was charging like $250 for 20 minutes. I was like, good gosh. I said, I'm broke, right? Yeah, I was like, I'm broke. I ain't got unless my followers are willing to throw that kind of money at me. I was like, just for an hour, I think that's almost like what, 700, 800 something bucks. Anyways,
Yeah.
but this was interesting to me because Elon's been wearing this Devil's Champion. That was his profile picture for ages on X, Twitter, and it was called the Devil's Champions with a goat on the front. And he looked in the mirror, and then we have Donald Trump Jr. posting the greatest of all time, the goat, with Trump staring at himself in the mirror. Now, she said he, Devil's Champion, would present the mark. You catching where I'm going with that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Making me go, okay, so if he's not the AC, but he'll be the means of maybe the false prophet, which I kid you not, there was these evangelical gentlemen. They were saying that Trump is the Apostle Trump, King Apostle Trump, and then we have Prophet Elon. I was going, huh? Prophet Elon? What I found interesting.
They want to be the first.
Yeah. Yeah, dude. The Sovereign Grand Master, the Supreme Council, the Scottish Rite of Freemasonry, Southern Jurisdiction.
Hopefully there's Kool-Aid at the end of that ride. That's all I gotta say.
There will be.
The upper center
rocket.
is this used by Satanist and 33-degree Freemason Aleister Crowley when he signed his name Baphomet X. X. Okay. AI X that's so now we know X means AI, and this is something that Elon has just bought out Twitter for. So he's already programming us into getting used to calling everything X AI. AI was a city in the Bible that was controlled by Nephilim, and I think if you looked into it, it means destruction. If I remember correctly, I'm not quite sure. So this lady, cute face, scary lady, we want to completely change the interaction with the digital world. Tetiana Alexandrova. I think I got it right. It says a singular alert, and I found this interesting because the the real ID that we have right now with what was it, early May this year? They want to implement something where it's permanent. There's no roundabout way. There's no passport. This is standard by May of 2027. Just letting you know, if you want to do any international traveling, I'd highly recommend doing it before May because non-invasive BCI nanoparticle implant through nose or blood for use by 26/27. The video interview just released on 4/11/25. This is breaking news regarding the push for the first truly implantable brain control interface, BCI, that humans will accept and take to become seamlessly connected to AI from inside the body. The YouTube video description below, I typed through some of the opening quotes from the video of 26/27, but more importantly, admit that this video is pushing the singularity as their main goal. They are guising medical advances to the public, but their real goal is to achieve fully seamless integration of nanotech into your body by 27 for the purpose of deviceless connection and operability between AI and the human body. This needs to be paid attention to as the Trump-Musk administration wants its 500 billion full-sweeping AI governing and surveillance system in place by 2029 or sooner.
What?
And now 2029 again was the end of Terminator movie.
Yeah. Elon Musk's AI bought Twitter also this week. So it really is Grok X now.
Grok, yeah.
AIX, yeah.
It's evolving. Now, I found this interesting because, again, as we were saying before with the fallopian tubes, Tesla.
You sounded like that guy from The Simpsons. It's evolving. Like the professor guy.
Yep, with the shaved head.
Just perfectly in your cough. It was awesome.
Try to reduce it. Still, every once in a while, still comes up tickling. And again, all set backwards is set for the god of Egypt. But what are they trying to give birth to? Right?
Nothing. It has a birth control device in it.
Wow. America first. It was originally used by the Ku Klux Klan in their parades.
Dude.
And when you turn it upside down, it's like, well, nah, come on. Come on, you're overthinking it. You're overthinking it, right? You're overlooking into something. The capirote is a conical pointed hat and originates from the Spanish Holy Inquisition. I'm trying to show, how we have, was it 40 Kings Crusaders or whatever it is with the medieval stuff with the Catholic Church. I'm seeing a little bit of something here. Conical pointed hat originates from the Spanish Inquisition. It was used as a mark of humiliation and punishment for those sentenced by the court. The religious conscience of the capirote is now associated with the Catholic brotherhoods and penitents, particularly during Holy Week processions in Spain and Hispanic countries. The biblical basis is wearing the hood is based on Matthew 6:16 through 18, which advocates anonymity during fasting. If anything, this draws attention to yourself, wouldn't it? Because you're wearing all this pompous robes and right, it's like, okay, well, I can't see your face, but I know you're somebody that's
it'd be
affiliated
like
with this.
just not that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
If you're
flamboyant.
wearing a fasting outfit to not let anybody know you're fasting, I think they're gonna know you're fasting.
Yeah. And then once you take off the hat or you see you go potty or something like that, it's like, well, now I know who's freaking under the mask. So the capirote originated in the Middle Ages, Spanish Inquisition. In Seville, Spain, members of the Barracote Brotherhood wear the capirote in a ritual that dates back to the Inquisition. In the 20th century, the KKK adopted a similar disguise. Now, it's also known by other names of the Nazarene Hoods. I found that kind of scary because, Christ, the Nazarenes, trying to make it a little bit dark spin on something. Another name for the capirotes, they're also known as the penitential hoods. So you're going through penance. Now, the capirote is a Christian pointed hat or conical form, and sometimes it is misinterpreted as the Ku Klux Klan has led misunderstandings, particularly in the context of its use in religious possessions. Now, this is the Ku Klux Klan. Now, which one is which here?
Yeah, right.
They got a cross, just granted tilted at a different degree, both on their chest. The point, yeah, sure, halfway, yeah, but it's the same thing. Now,
That way that they wave kind of gives it away, and
yeah.
I mean,
true. But for me, when I was breaking down Rome's responsibility for the assassination of Abraham Lincoln, now you're doing penance. You lost the Civil War. If Rome is true that they're the only country that didn't apologize or didn't send condolences for when Lincoln died, that they did have a hand in all of this stuff the minute that they acknowledged the South as its own entity country, and this caused a whole bunch of the Irish and everybody else to freaking what do you call it? Desert, leave in droves. They were like, we're not doing this anymore because the Pope says don't do it. We were not going to do it.
is that they also started fighting with the Mexicans in the Mexican-American War too, during that like
ish
after yeah. Like pre even yeah. The Irish were kind of iffy on which side they were on anyways.
Well, the other one I can break down a little bit more specifically with this group, Knights of the Golden Circle. But basically, if you lost, wouldn't you have to be paying penance for what you didn't manage to accomplish or uphold?
Yep.
So in a sense, the Ku Klux Klan ends up becoming almost religious fervor, which we do know a lot of Masons are part of this because Albert Pike is alleged to be one of the founders of the Ku Klux Klan. And you look up prior to them, you had the Knights of the Golden Circle.
Yeah.
So I'm over here going, yeah, I think you're both one and the same thing. You're just wearing it for different reasons, but it all stems from the same capirote principle. You know what I'm saying? Now, capirote is a religious garb used in Spain. Nazarenos or Pharisios, similar to Pharisee. They were worn during the Holy Week, which is the last week of Lent, so directly before Easter. They were also worn in public as a sign of penance. Historically, flagellants are origins of this tradition. Flagellants flogged themselves in penance for their sins, and the Pope Clement VI ordered the flagellants could only perform penance under church supervision. Capirotes themselves only came into use during the Inquisition in Spain. They were arrested by the Inquisition and had to wear paper capirotes as a sign of public humiliation. Depending on their sentence the color of the capirote was different. For example, red capirotes were for those who had been sentenced to death. After the Inquisition was abolished, capirotes remained as a sign of punishment and penance, and is used by various brotherhoods. They are now the choice wear of those who feel they have sinned so that they may perform penance. The use of the capirote was once common throughout Spain's former colonies too, but the practice has been mostly stopped except in a few places in Mexico and Guatemala. Capirotes bear the resemblance of an official outfit of a certain American hate group. This is because that the group is famously anti-Catholic, and one hypothesis is that they took on the look to mock Catholic worshippers.
Okay.
Now, I'm chuckling because when they go to a certain place in Europe, they're like Holy Week in Cartagena, not KKK. It's like, yeah, well, yeah,
Sorry,
you have
they
to let me
perverted
know.
your symbol, but
Right. It's like, I don't know. So the mark of Cain, and I'm thinking this does connect with voting because you get, put your mark. When you don't know how to sign your name, what do you put down? X. I'm just submitting to the system. I don't really know, but I'll put my X on the spot because I don't know.
Yep.
But you're still submitting to the system. I don't care if you don't know how to write your name. It's the fact that you're still submitting to this ceremony, this contract. We live in a new world order, just as people under Augustus Caesar did. Not a future thing to be feared or avoided. The new world order is a present reality to be identified, understood, and dealt with as a way of pleasing to God. It was God, after all, who established the new world order. Huh? We can read about it in the Bible. In fact, the Bible is the only record we have that publicly and truthfully sets forth the essentials of the order's origins and development through time. The Bible records great decisive events in the progress of human life up to the close and first century AD. Creation of earth and the fullness thereof. Creation of man and woman, their turning away from God in the first conception, the first birth, and the first sacrifice, the first murder, the first insignia, and the first city. The first and only great flood, and the surviving family in its peculiar relationship through time with God. All of this is momentous data and given in the Bible with the stark truthfulness that is invariable supported. This is from the book Rulers of Evil by Tupper Saucy. If you can get a copy, highly recommend. And I was chuckling because as I was reading the top part of this chapter, the mark of Cain is stamped upon our foreheads. Pineal glands, foreheads, putting the cross on Tammuz.
Yep.
Across the centuries, our brother Abel has lain in blood, which we drew. We did? I thought Cain drew it. And shed tears we caused by forgetting thy love. Pope John the 23rd, a prayer from 1960. I'm chuckling because why would you be celebrating the very concept of Cain? That was no, we didn't forget that either. We don't forget that kind of stuff. I'm highly suspecting the lightning bolt was probably the mark of Cain. Because this would be similar to Zeus throwing his lightning bolts, a curse, right? Usually that's what it's affiliated with. I'm mad at you, so I'm going to throw my lightning bolt. And it would explain why in the occult, the lightning bolt is celebrated, and it's also the mark on Harry Potter's forehead. Right? And it could be a Zion. There's a little something there. A little something there. Cain was not murdered as a sacrifice nailed to a news very name. We can skip that. So I was reading over here how the mark managed to remain vibrant in nearly 6,000 years. Grand Commander Albert Pike, in his influential Morals and Dogma, threw valuable light on the subject. He declared that from the earliest time, Freemasonry has been the custodian and depository of the symbols, emblems, and allegories erected by Enoch. The commander was careful when he meant to say not Cain's son Enoch, but the Bible's other Enoch, Enoch 2, which is false, and the good Enoch, the Enoch who walked with God. However, his attempt to disassociate the institution from Cain puts the commander at variance with Masonic and biblical chronology. For if the biblical Enoch erected the earliest imagery of Freemasonry, it cannot be possible to have Enoch 2. it is said that Ben Enoch 1, let's examine the chronology, and basically he starts breaking it down. So what they're trying to imply is that we're created a pseudo Enoch to justify everything else. You know, like, oh well, Enoch walked with God. So if you create a pseudo Enoch with second Enoch, you start creating this concept of, well, it's one and the same. And how you walk with God is if you ascend, which is all about in Freemasonry, right?
Yep.
And I found it interesting because again, Mark of the Beast versus Mark of Cain. Genesis 4:15 and Revelation 13:16 through 17. Now, beast, that was making me think cryptids, beast of the field. Maybe
Yep.
there's something, connected here. And I found it interesting because what do we have right now in the Middle East? What's the name of this movement that's taking out things in Gaza?
Gideon's chariot.
Zionism.
Oh, there you go. I was
I
like, I
found it
think that's the
interesting.
military.
It's Savua, and written in the seventh of Hebrew alphabet, called Zayin or Zayon, in Hebrew following. I think I've seen a similar character of Zayon before on someone's forehead, and rather the mark of Cain. Zion, Zayon, are you fighting for the empire of Cain in the Middle East? Now, they were asking the question, could Trump become the prime minister of Israel? Yes. And technically, he could do it while he's president.
I thought you weren't allowed to hold two.
Apparently, there's some sort of loophole. I was reading some article, but apparently there's some sort of loophole where he technically could, or even when he's done being president here, he could be prime minister of Israel. Now, let's say the World Economic Forum, or the UN, is right that they want to move their New World Order base of the UN to Israel to be the capital of the world, and you get nominated as Messiah or world ruler, and you have that little Trump Gaza #1, and that whole video
Emperor of the
breakdown.
universe.
God Emperor Trump, which they have had a thing in Italy that were showing Trump on there with the Twitter bird on his shoulder and stuff like that. But this was all before. This was all before all this stuff went down.
I think
Somebody knows something.
It's crazy too how you had the mark of Cain there, and then it was the symbol, and it's the seventh letter, and then God says he'll be avenged sevenfold.
Yes.
Right?
Or with Lamech, it'll be 70 times 7 for anything that I just did. So it's like, yee. Which is interesting because he said, what did Christ say? He says, forgive somebody 70 times 7.
Yeah.
There's something there. There's always something there. Now, I was continuing to read this, and Eunuch, I don't know, had no primitive village. Encyclopedia Britannica noted the transparent glass seems to have been first introduced of Sargon, which is an equivalent of Cain, this guy suspects. Sargon built a metropolis of an enormous complexity, but was astonished the archaeologist most was the city's miraculous historical suddenness. It seemed to come out of nowhere. How did he get this? Eunuchs seemed to have materialized out of nowhere. We found, in short, abundant remains of a bronze culture, but no traces of preceding ages of development such as we meet in the early Egyptian sites. So who gave you this technology? The suddenness factor severely challenged these scholars who viewed throughout history Darwinian anti-biblicalism, which had become the fashion of a Jesuit-influenced academic circles. To fit evolutionary theory, Eunuch should have evidenced development from a much older civilization. As a contributor to the London Times, prestigious historian's history of the world grumbled, surely such a people as this could not have sprung into existence as a dux ex machina, a person or thing introduced or appearing unexpectedly, so as to provide an artificial or contrived solution to an otherwise insoluble problem. It must have had its history, a history which presupposes development of several centuries more. Now, I found this interesting because as I was reading this, I was immediately thinking, Deus Ex Machina, the movie, former Google engineer is developing an AI god. Oh.
Who uses AI now to write their laws, Matt?
Oh, I don't know.
Remember we were talking about it the other day.
We were in
India or somebody now is using, or
Seriously?
Singapore. Yeah, something like that.
yeah, one of them.
Well, in
Wasn't
Germany,
it
they
a
were having
stain?
AI give sermons. I think this is 23, 24. Yeah. I'm like, guys,
I mean, is it much different than the copy and paste they get off of Google now?
I hate to say it. No, it's not because well,
Yeah.
in articles they're saying that robots could write an article and tell you, quote unquote, everything you want to know. As again, they're not going to need that much longer. But what I found interesting, as we said before, the Masonic Find, are you ready for the future, brother? It's an ex machina machine, a man merging with machine to live forever, and that's Masonic Find. And again, if Cain, Nimrod all connect with Masons, and they're talking about this machine suddenly rose out of somewhere and gave them technology for how to become gods, AI God. And again, what does God do? If all this is going down, I'm going to have the children of Israel come along and slaughter all of these freaking things because this is not what I want people to start doing. Sadly, they started, veering and doing some of this stuff. Just finding it interesting, but changing your genes, again,
Yep, yep.
economics, and they're showing
I like
very
that one.
interesting parallels. When you add a third helix to your regular DNA, you get 322, foundation of the skull and bones, and it's
Yep.
also 322. 3 times 22, 66 was missing. The I, the one, the guard protocol that you bring down. In the middle,
Yeah.
616. Followers of the beast, 666 is the number of the beast. 6 neutrons, 6 electrons, 6 protons. So basically, the beast is basically saying you're fighting that animal within yourself. Evolution, right? We're going to find that inner animal and unlock it to make it a god. What? What in the... Don't need to read all this, but again, it's talking about the Phrygian cap during the French Revolution, a little bonnet that became quite popular with the Republican movement. There's a little emphasis there. And I'm noticing a similar pattern with all of these. This is the sound off of the ritual of the pentagram, doing as above, so below. It's the same premise. It's the Statue of Liberty. Find the inner light, the torch, you're either aiming upward or downward.
I hate the Sacred Heart on Jesus when they do that.
Well, it's even white tunic, red sash. That's the magician. And again, a lot of the early cynics or distractors of Christianity. Well, look, if Christ was hanging out in Egypt, he obviously was just a magician. I kid you not, that's only what they're saying. So now they have the magician tarot card affiliated with Christ, or how they always depict him for our Christianity. White tunic, red sash, holy guy.
Dude, you're messing me up with some of this stuff too, because like the other day, Michael and I did a podcast where he had the Vagina Mary on there, and it was like
The
I
whole
could
time
not
behind
be
him. Yeah.
like, yeah, I could not just be sidetracked by it. And on his shirt too, dude.
We couldn't not see Brandon Kroll because it was just the Virgin Mary behind him the whole time. We were like, can't hear it. Can't hear anything you're saying right now.
Dude, sometimes I have like I'll be watching it, I'll be like, why do you have an American flag behind you? Why do you have this behind you? Why do you have... I'm like, I just have to shut up sometimes because I'm gonna ruin every friendship that I have if I try to break down. Like, it must suck being a Mason, dude. Be absolutely honest, because you have to be there, shaking people's hands and doing all this stuff, and at the same time you're looking at the room like, we got a bunch of fools around us. I know. You want to do that handshake again? They have no idea. I hate to say it, that's probably what they're thinking about a lot of these people. Again, just showing the visual aspect. As we were saying, soul and terra. So we got soul equaling fire, and then earth, so these two. And then you have Elon representing air and water. Now, what was Satan known as? He's the god of the prince of the air waves. And water. So water and money are starting to become affiliated with one thing. Your currency, channeling, energy. Conduit. It's there.
Currents, money flow. Yeah.
And then fire, pyramid, fire, pi, Ra, sun god, mid, and your fire, the sun god in your mid. So you have a pyramid, fire in your mids, and love of the earth, things of this earth. So it's completed. Again, as above, so below. So without, as the universe, so the soul. And this is Hermes Trismegistus, Nimrod's son. And we see the symbolism again. He's holding Caduceus staff right here.
Yeah.
Now, let's see. Is this it? Yes. Okay. So this thing on the left, I don't have to break that all down, but basically they're saying the 8 points of a circle, which you'll find in the Vatican when they have the monolith in the center, and then you look on the Vatican ground, it has the 8 points of the sphere of Shalmaneser, the 8-pointed star. That is ironically what they're affiliating with this freedom cap of Jehu. And as I kept reading, I was going, okay, a rainbow sweeps across the lower quadrant of the dome of the sky from Benjamin Franklin to a boy wearing a Smurf cap and a toga. The boy, and again, this is in the rotunda in the Capitol, somewhere around
Dome
there.
of the sky.
Yeah. The boy attends a goddess who reclines on a large horse-drawn reaper. She is Persephone's mother, Ceres, or Circe. This is where we get circle or church from, who was reconsecrated by the early missionary adaptation as Anna, mother of the Virgin Mary. The Golden Boy is officially designated Young America. Although Brumidi, the artist, had hidden the boy's face from us, he deserves our careful scrutiny for one important reason. Bearing the name America, he is the only element in the sacred national iconography that defines the character of the American person as perceived by the government. Young America's Smurf cap is a style of headgear known as the Phrygian cap. Phrygia was a district in the kingdom of Pergamum, that's the throne of Satan in Turkey. We remember Pergamum. It was the middle point in the transfer of the Babylonian religion westward to Rome. Phrygia is a Greek word meaning freemen. Our English word free comes from the first syllable, fry. Phrygian were given to freed Roman slaves, the caps, to indicate their new liberated status. Roman law regards liberty as a conditional status. Once granted by a patron, it could be revoked at any time for cause.
Okay.
Nigerian cap freedom then means liberty. Freed Roman slaves, by the way, were called liberty. To please Caesar. We remember from the chapter 8 how Ignatius was. So anyways, I was just chuckling because I was going, so you're telling me these red MAGA caps, their temporary status of emphasizing that you're a slave, and your status can be revoked at any time that we want to take it away. So what does it say?
Slaves.
That they're going to be under a great delusion, a great spell?
Yep.
They think
Conditional.
they're free. Right. And you're not. It is. You just said it's contractual. Constitution. You agreed to this. You agreed to this. Your vote. You voted for me 3 times. 3 X's. You agreed to this. You want me to dictate you. No, I don't. You signed the contract, remember? Well,
Absolutely.
I thought I was signing it with the devil. Well, that's your own ignorance then, isn't it? Because God has given us reason and intellect. So this is kind of the point where when you're making a deal with the devil, right? And you have these classic things in the movies, the thing is like, I told you the truth. I just didn't tell you the full truth. It's not my fault that you didn't try to look in for the loopholes and read the fine print. All you heard were the highlights I was offering you in this contract, right?
Yep.
That's where the problem comes into play. Is that anytime you watch it in the old movies or something like that, they're over here going, well, you didn't tell me that. I told you what you wanted to hear, and you got what you wanted, did you not? Contract fulfilled. Don't look at me.
Have you ever
Same
seen
thing.
Bedazzled with Brendan Fraser? Where
Bedazzled?
What's her name? Elizabeth Hurley is the devil, but it's the same thing. He's always asking for something, and she gives him what he wants, but it's never correct. You know, there's always something wrong with it every time, and he's like, "Come on!" Like he gets all the money in the world being a big old professional athlete, and one of them he's all popular, and then he meets the girl of his dreams, and he has a little wiener. You know, so it's like things like that, right?
Wow.
Yeah, yeah.
I think
That's
I
right
see a
up what you're
trailer for
saying.
that.
Yeah.
And again, if it's true, Revelation 17:5, and upon her forehead, people who follow this, was the name written, Mystery Babylon the Great. Now, is it possible it was Make America Great Again? I don't know, but if I'm John,
Babylon.
I don't even know what a continent of America is, but has all the elements of Babylon therein. I'm going to call it a mystery, but my God, it's certainly deceiving everybody. Like he said, he was in wonder. How are they falling for this? This is like so obvious, right? You shouldn't be falling for it, but you become so much like the other countries that you don't even understand what it is to be a Christian. You're so far from it. And now, in 1669, Washington, D.C. was originally called Rome. So this could be an equivalent of, again, Helios, east meets west. It's a mirrored mark of the beast. You have one if by land, two if by sea, right? All of this stuff. So we might ask ourselves, did the model of liberty, freedom, and equality die out with the cult of Mithras? Did his red cap of liberty fall to the ground forever with the rise of the Dark Ages? Much later, some would say by magic, some would say by coincidence, some would say by the spirit never dies. The Phrygian cap came to figure heavily in the French Revolution iconography, probably influenced by the Roman goddess Libertas. Now, this is the irony, as I chuckled when I see these things pop up now, is when you try to warn MAGA that Trump is backed by a technocrat billionaires building a digital surveillance panopticon, not to keep bad guys out, but to trap you in a biometric control grid, and all you get back is this blank fluoride stare. Dude, go ahead.
I think so. You just showed it on last, but you got the Roman goddess Libertas, and then in the last slide, what were they? They were calling him like the male version of that here in Young America. Go down about the bottom third of it, right there on the left. Liberti, to please Caesar. That's what the Roman slaves were called. So you had the goddess Libertas, and then they called them Liberti as slaves.
Yes.
So you're a goddess of a slave. The slave goddess.
Yeah. And again, when you look at the feet of the Statue of Liberty, she has a ball and chain. I kid you not.
What
you
the
can't
heck?
write this any better, dude.
What? See, that's crazy.
So that's another thing. When you looked at the original pictures of the Statue of Liberty, it was sandwiched right between the Twin Towers, as if going between the two pillars in Freemasonry, right? And you're going through this process of releasing yourself from a prison that's holding you down, right? And you're looking to follow that light, that torch, that third building. That's the three candles when you walk into the Masonic Lodge, and they take off the blindfold and you look for that light in the corner, right? It's a metaphor of you're going to find that inner light within yourself. Now, again, that prison, what did convicts used to wear and sometimes still do? The colors of black and white.
Yeah.
Oh, and
Sonic
chains too.
colors.
Like I was still on the Statue of Liberty too, with the slaves.
Yeah, dude.
But you would wear black and white as the colors, and that was again Masonic. You're going through a path, right? You're trying to find, do I want to follow the light path or the dark path? And then on top of that, now it's orange that you wear, which is the color of loyalty in Freemasonry.
Donald Trump's face.
Yeah, or Trump's face. That's what I'm saying. So I'm like, dude,
Cheeto
guys,
man.
they're literally even in our prison system, they're illustrating for us. You agreed to this. It's judicial slavery. They're making money off of you. So literally, I don't care if Matt or you or myself or whatever, you go to jail, but you're still making me money.
If you go to jail, sometimes you get green.
You get green?
Yeah, they'll put you in green.
Yeah, when you first go in. Yeah.
I wonder how many of that.
Not that I know that.
Have you ever looked into how much of it would tie to the not KKK colors? The Spanish Orthodox and all their hoods and cloaks. I wonder if those colors kind of affiliate to like prison colors you got to wear,
Everything has a meaning, dude. And once you look it up, you start looking at things so differently. You're just like, you know what, God? I appreciate colors, but I don't subscribe to any of the bad crap down here. It's getting terrifying. It's like I don't know if I'm wearing bad stuff on me at this point. It's
That's
sad.
True. That's
sad.
true.
But
dude, you chose the dark side.
Yep.
What, wearing black?
Yeah, it's over.
Yeah.
It says dare to be a Daniel.
Oh, that's cool.
That is cool.
Supporting some merch. You can get it in the link below, folks. We'll throw that in as a commercial.
It'll be there.
So who is the Roman version of Adonis? And I found it interesting. Adon, or Lord of the Semitic, is the name for Tammuz. And Adonis, among the Greeks and Romans, he was represented as a young god in the religious triad of Jabal, or Byblos, a.k.a. Baalbek. Baal. Now, major construction of Baalbek first began by the Phoenicians, aka Canaanites, and it was the Phoenicians who erected an enormous temple in the Phoenician sky god, Baal. Baal was one of the most important gods in the Phoenician pantheon, making Baalbek a popular site for pilgrimage across the region. Now, I found it interesting because another variation of this when I was looking up close stuff, Roman Heliopolis, that means Sun City, Helios. And Trump has done several rallies both in Arizona and in South Carolina with places called Sun City. I was like, well, that's interesting. Surely a coincidence. So Donald means world ruler. Trump means to deceive one up or outdo someone else. Donald stems from Adonis, as I was looking down the etymology. Adonis's equivalent is Dumazid. Dumazid was a Sumerian goat shepherd god. Dumazid's equivalent is Tammuz, mentioned in Ezekiel 8. And Tammuz in Greek was known as Hermes, aka the guy with the Caduceus staff that we just saw right over here. Now, Hermes in Rome was known as Mercury, and when you look at Mercury, he traces directly back to Marduk and Baal. Dawn means Lord, Baal means Lord, husband, owner, master. Tammuz is Christ's pagan doppelganger and the occult's messiah figure, Nimrod's son. Now, didn't they not say, a lot of theologians for the longest time, they're saying that in the Antichrist figure would have to be a Nimrod-like character.
Yep.
Yeah. His symbols are the all-seeing eye, the Caduceus staff, the infinity logo, and the cross, the symbol which Christ died upon. That's a sprawled out Kaaba cube. So when even the red, white, and blue Christian flag that we have, all white, blue, and then you have the red cross in the upper left-hand corner, that's the symbol of Tammuz. And we're forming a country under Christian nationalism with the cross of Tammuz? Dude, you can't make this any, like, with the symbols of Egypt, and we're wearing the cross of Tammuz, Christ's pagan doppelganger, a symbol that he brings before the throne of God in Hebrews 12:2. That is what we're going to be emphasizing with Christian nationalism. Again, white tunic, red sash. It's MAGA, magician, magical, witch, sorceress in Italian, Spanish, magician, wizard, or illusionist. MAGA in Polish, magician. MAGA in Sanskrit, magician, priest of the sun. Dude, even with all of our babble languages, we still get the root cause here. I would not be surprised if you guys want to Google that for me. Spell MAGA backwards and look up if there's anything AGAM, agam. I'm sure we'll find some sort of pagan god or whatever in there. But Donald Trump is related to most Icelanders and Danish and Norwegian royalty. Now, they say the Antichrist is supposed to come from the tribe of Dan because everybody else, while they had a menorah, Dan put up an eagle. Very similar to America with our eagle. Claims of the descent of the Danes claim to descend from the tribe of Dan. That the Danes were the Israelites' tribe of Dan, and that they moved themselves to Denmark when they landed there. And now we're getting Dan AI, and this is his face.
That's not creepy.
It kind of looks like a Guy Fawkes still too.
Yes,
yeah,
but evil.
It's like an evil Guy Fawkes from the other side. It's like, yeah.
Which ones are like that's crazy. Like at first, like I didn't realize his eyebrows were. Yeah, that's crazy.
It's like you have to wonder what's their inspiration truly coming from, right? And so if he does have connections with Daneland, aka Greenland, who's to say he's not going to find some ancient, DNA, Dan? Your DNA,
There's a whole
your data?
agamic tradition for the agam if you do MAGA backwards.
Agamic tradition?
Yeah. There's the agamas, which are a collection of scriptures that provide detailed instructions on temple construction, rituals, and the worship of deities.
Dude.
Yeah.
Building a third temple.
Yep.
Okay. I want credit that I told you to look that up. I would have figured that out eventually because I was thinking about it earlier. Oh my gosh.
Shiva, Vishnu, Devi, the goddess.
Pools or marshes is what it means in Hebrew. Agam and Hin. Oh my god, dude. Kabbalah. Agam in Sanskrit refers to the scriptures that come down through tradition.
Yep.
Wow, this is okay. I'm gonna have fun with that.
You're gonna
Thank
update
you
this
for-
bad boy.
Yep, oh boy, that just helped me a big time. Anyways, I might do a video, short little video when I'm explaining Kabbalah again. But again, Dan, DNA, police are using AI traffic cameras to track drivers using cell phones. Now, I'm seeing a thing where they're pushing this with Time magazine too. Wired magazine, Economics magazine, talking about transhumanism, right?
How uncomfortable does that look?
But all this?
Yeah.
Well, dude, again, if you're going to be possessed, let's say it starts with the nanotech at first inside you, then they activate some 5G tower thing, and then they tell you to put something like whatever, like this little, let's say a clip thing, like whatever they have with the Black Mirror. I know they were talking about some kind of work thing, and then your eyes go back.
I hope
Yep.
it goes up your butt.
Why you want that, Matt?
That way,
Why are we
I'm
always
just
going
less
there?
incentivized to do it.
Why is that always the first hole to pick?
Yeah, well,
Seems
that
like
only
the
orifice
easiest,
on the human
really.
body, which you have 7 to choose from. Why is that the one you picked first? Actually, I just did an episode with the parasites, worms, and demons, and they're talking about how the butt thing is how a lot of this entry stuff goes on, and that's why the human worm thing. I was like,
Yeah, there's a
that's
lot
why
of
the snake
absorption.
fail. Yeah, yeah.
Man.
But so let's say again, like the computer is telling you do this, then do that, and the next thing you know, you're part of. You just did it because now you're being programmed, and they're telling you to do it, like the metaverse, or you download some avatar cute pet from the metaverse, and the next thing you know, it does this thing that Michael just said from Black Mirror, and you're just downloading a barcode that basically is sealing your fate. That you're now part of this grid, and you won't be able to off yourself because Revelation's telling us what's going to happen. So have fun, because some of us are going to be up on a marriage feast, and the rest of y'all's
Can't die.
yeah, you're going to be AI'd. And I was chuckling because this is like what? This is ultimately what they want to get to when they were doing the foundation of our country. Retina scanner or iris. And again, spell iris backwards, you get Siri. What's up, Siri?
AI too in the Bible that you mentioned earlier. I just remembered this now. It's tism brain right there.
Yeah.
They were one of the ones that first defeated the Jericho army. Or like in the Battle of Jericho there. Yeah, that city they got like snuck up on, and who went to fight? Who was that? Joseph or
Joshua?
Who was fighting? Yeah, he was fighting, right? And he battled AI with his army and they lost to him and had to like come back. So there's something there to it.
Dude, I'm just saying again, if you had Joshua and you had a certain remnant that was left behind to fight, right? For the next generation, and then you had the old generation had to die off. Christ's name, a variation of Joshua, you had the 7 again, I was reading something with when you're going 7 times around something, that's opening a channel to let something in. But remember, if you're the bad guys and it's a time of war, you're probably not thinking, why are they circling us 7 times? You're probably thinking, this is one of the stupidest military tactics ever. Then they blow a trumpet. And what is that allowing? The Holy Spirit is going to rip down your walls, and then you're going.
Yep.
So again, if trumpets, Christ returns at the sound of a trumpet. God is deliverance, is what Yeshua means. Is the 2 witnesses going to have a chance to fight until Christ gets back? Or are we able to witness some of this? Because it says some are going to be, their robes. Robes are going to have to be purified through persecution. There's going to have to be blood to purify them. But who's to say there's not going to be? Again, I don't know. But personally speaking, I would really like to fight. And if you do have a return of an Elijah spirit with some people, I'm just saying, you went to war against the giants physically, and now you're having an AI version. Wouldn't it be kind of cool if God gave you the power to breathe fire from your mouth and do all this other stuff, cause plagues against robot armies? And, people are going, robot army or follow God? Because apparently God can still do that stuff, and he's using people right now, right?
We get the power to download malware through our eyes into the robots. That'll be it.
I want that one. That's malware. Well, even
you'll be sending it.
Break down the very word virus. vir, vir is the Latin word for men. And then I read something in a book and I'm forgetting it now, but us was the very, I can't remember the etymology now, but it was making me think because it connected with demons with us. And then we have what for the United States? US. So I was like, don't know, but it made me chuckle. Anyways, a retina scanner, sometimes mistakenly referred to as the iris scanner, is a device used for biometric authentication. Retina scanners map the pattern of blood vessels in your individual's retina and use this pattern to confirm identity. Now, I was just kind of looking at this link over here, digital ID, and people are warning about the technocracy, authoritarianism with critics are warning, like be careful with digital ID. And this is in March of 2025, this year, right? And then Rolling Stones, they published this article. How AI could reincarnate your dead grandparents or wipe out your children.
Neither. I don't want neither.
Right? It was like, well, why? Okay, I didn't really like Grandpa. No, kidding.
My grandpa would be so mad if I'm
right. It's like, no, what'd you do? But again, this is going exactly into the witchcraft aspect of trying to speak to somebody who's passed to beyond. When you had like when King Saul was trying to talk with Samuel, that's already taken a violation of God's law. I says, no, I don't want you to do that. But secondly, with the retina aspect, control, all-seeing eye, you are again Orwellian, or you're chuckling because the camera's gonna. Yes, the cameras will be looking at you, but at the same time, you are looking into the eye of the beast, belly of the beast. You are submitting to that by doing this thing with the retina scan. So in a sense, they've kind of already been foreshadowing what this is going to be. And again, it's on our currency, right? Digital currency. It's there. And again, they're trying to replace your passport, your wallet.
Oh
your
yeah,
keys.
and it already kind of is, by the way, because like I mean, terrorists, like that's how we can tell if you're a terrorist is by your retina scan.
Right.
It's crazy.
Which, dude, I hate to say it, even when you're checking in now, there's some questions that they're asking, saying, "Are you a terrorist?" You hit yes or no.
Do they got tech like that, Matt, where they just scan their eyeball real
Yeah,
quick?
for sure. That's like how we ID'd people in Iraq. Like, I mean, you can't like
that was 20 years ago.
Yeah, bro.
So wait, if I'm a domestic terrorist, how do you check that one out?
I'm sure they have cameras.
The other hole that Matt was talking about.
Oh, great. So that's the real reason that we have free
Upon your 40th birthday.
Wow. We're going to download so much information from in here. Okay. That's just messed up. But something I was chuckling is, well, again, Catholic Church, they have the globe and they have an eye, the Roman numeral 1 or I in the center, which replicates the serpent eyeball, ironically enough.
What?
Yeah.
What is going on there? Hollow
and
Earth?
Does that kind of look like a portal?
Yeah, it looks like a Stargate, a literal Stargate,
Thank
like
you.
symbol at the top and everything.
Isn't that where we left the Nephilim? Is in the Earth somewhere?
Yes,
right?
in the center of the Earth, and we're trying to bring them out, but we have to have basically Operation Warp Speed, speed of light. The 144,000 are set apart from all of this. I'm just chuckling because I'm seeing a little bit of a parallel. They called it warp speed. 144,000 is connected with that. I'm over here going, so if you corrupted your DNA, maybe you can't be used by God? Again, I'm not saying every batch was severely bad or all that. What I'm saying is there's something definitely there with the occult because they intentionally called it warp speed. Why? Because we made it really fast? No, you already had it in the wings.
Yeah, nice try.
Right. It's a double play on words. It's a war seed. And again, that's always been the thing is enmity between her seed and your. Yeah.
They now have to put a warning on it. I saw today the FDA passed
with the C things. Okay.
That it can cause heart injury. Yeah, they have to put that on every single one now. And it's like, dude, that would have cost us our jobs 3 years ago, 4 years ago when we were saying that.
Well, dude, it's like I remember when I think it was right when Biden got in January, February of his thing. Like the boss is going to guy to guy to guy in the machines, and he comes up to me and he says, "Yeah, you have to get it, or we have to suspend you." And I'm like, "I ain't getting no damn vaccine." And he's,
Yeah, suspend
"Damn
me,
it,
fire
I
me.
said the word. Sorry."
Yep.
Anyways, I'll make a note of that. Anyways,
Ah.
make a note of the time. I said, I ain't getting none of that in me. And he's like, you have to do it. It's a presidential order. I said, I don't care. It was a freaking emperor of the world that told me to do that. I ain't getting that. It's just, yeah, it's just
Not happening.
not, yeah, well, it's just not happening because, biblically, it's like religious grounds. I have no means of putting that in me. So Trump, with this AI governance alliance, which is on the World Economic Forum, Trump's talking about this on his campaign trail. Back in 2015, I think in September is when this clip was taken, talking about entry exit. Now that's the thing. Entry, okay, exit. So you're telling me I can't leave unless we have this implemented?
There's a city in Canada you have to pay to leave.
Are you serious?
Mm-hmm. They implemented it this year.
Hotel California, dude.
And if you don't pay, like, what do they do? Put you in jail in the town?
I think you get to be a bum in their town.
Dude, that's probably gonna be with most freedom cities. You can't leave unless you pay a tax, or like Trump's golden card. You can't leave unless you get this. What do you mean? Sorry, that's the rules. If you want to go explore, get your digital reality headset, which again, a World Economic Forum has talked about. I'm like, no.
That this system is in place. And I will tell you, it will be on land, it will be on sea, it will be in air. We will have a proper tracking system.
Hi, I'm Christine Ulm, the United States Secretary of Homeland Security. If you plan on traveling, we need your help to prevent delays and to prove your identity. Get a real ID. Starting May 7th, you will need a real ID to travel by air or to visit federal buildings in the United States. These IDs keep our country safe because they help prevent fraud and they enhance security. Please do your part to protect our country. Go today and don't delay. To learn more, go to dhs.gov/real-ID. Thank you.
It's always with the rhymes. Don't delay. Go today.
Dude, when I was watching, have you guys ever watched Babylon 5?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Thank you. You're a good man. I like it so much better than Star Trek because it literally gets me to start thinking, especially
Do I
when
get my nerd card back for not knowing Star Wars?
Dude, I didn't watch Star Wars till I was 14, so
Yeah.
absolutely did that automatic. But I really liked it because there was even the thing where they were torturing Sheridan. This is season 4. Like obedience is rewarded. Whatever. Like I'm like, we're doing that now. When the freaking White House released, just obey and everything will be fine. Like they literally released, and they're just like, well, what are you talking about? Could you be a bit more specific? But it's the aspect we want you to submit and obey to us. So what if I say no because I'm biblically against whatever you're all pushing? Has been a Christian and or a follower of God ever since Old Testament, Daniel, right? I'm gonna again dare to be a Daniel, my shirt. I'm gonna dare to pray, despite the legislation that's being passed today saying that you can't do that unless you're praying to the freaking emperor or whatever. You have Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Yeah, we're not doing that. Sorry, you're gonna have to throw us into the furnace. Like this has constantly been the theme of a person who follows God. The prophets, you stoned them, you cut them in half because why? They were being my mouthpieces in your midst, and you didn't like that. They never liked that. Now, there's this Jehu guy in the Bible, Babylonian icon. Jehu worshipped the golden calf. Now, this is something I found very interesting, and you guys are going to be going, what? Israel by Jehu's predecessor, Jeroboam. Jeroboam renounced the law of God of Israel and instituted democracy. Democracy opened Israel's priesthood up, originally opened by Yahweh exclusively to the family of the Levites, to all applicants. Consequently, Yahweh's priesthood was infiltrated by non-believers and foreign sympathizers. They prepared the way for Jehu to make himself a Phrygian freeman. obligated to concur with the obedience of the understanding in all things which is superior. Shalmaneser II commanded exactly that the black obelisks, aka Black Rock, which we've covered before, explains in lucid visual terms. As a direct result of Jehu's departure from God of Israel, the Israelite nation began falling apart. It was ultimately destroyed by the Caesarian, sorry, and the legitimate heir of Shalmaneser's Babylonian authority as passed down through Pergamum, the throne of Satan. Running throughout this cosmic battle of the fates is a highly refined Kabbalah involved concept of the golden calf. The word calf in Hebrew in the language of Jehu and Jeroboam is these letters, pronounced eagle.
What?
Whereas Jehu gave his people Shalmaneser the golden, whatever, the word again, to worship, the church militant has trained the American public to worship Rome's golden eagle,
The golden
himself,
eagle,
which summons every flagpole, surmounts every flagpole. Could it be to show respect, affection, or loyalty towards the national eagle? We create the presumptions of worshiping the golden calf, so we alienate ourselves from God of the Bible. In the vacuum, find ourselves under the rule of the church militant.
what if that picture you have of Trump with the golden phoenix behind him is actually the Hebrew word of Jehu, which is pronounced eagle?
Yes. Eagle, a phoenix. America was known as the land of the feathered serpent and or
Right.
Tortoise Island. Tortoise is affiliated with Hermes and the 13 calendar months. Again, monoliths, months, the mons pubis. This is all connecting with moon, right? We were supposed to have 72 days off on the Enochian calendar. With this other one, we only get like 67. So I'm just saying, even the aspect of, days of rest, that's what we're supposed to have. But the very
Got rid of
concept
it.
is as above, so below. When you put the eagle over yourself, or the 8-pointed star, this is the thing I was talking about before. This is in the Vatican. And in the very center, you have Nimrod's dick, to put it very crudely.
Yep.
Yeah.
In the middle of the
That,
pizza.
Yes.
I'm not even gonna ask. So when people are telling me, and I was reading this other book, this guy, he's basically in thirds for me. 1/3 I'm like, interesting. 1/3 I'm like, I think you're racist. And the other third is, I'm gonna have to look a little further into what you're talking about. But apparently Shem was so close with God, he was starting to get the nickname of Yahweh or Yahweh, and eventually in Egyptian deities, they created a god called Yahweh. Now, whether or not that's true, I'm still dissecting all of that. However, Yahweh does spell out the name of God, allegedly. Now, I think it's true because according to lore, Adam's first word ever spoken was saying God's name because it was way.
His first breath, right?
Yeah, in, out, like every time you breathe. So let's say when you get to Revelation, every knee shall bow and every tongue shall confess that Christ is Lord. So literally breathing, you just said your creator's name. Even if you're saying I'm not going to do that, if you breathe, you have to.
Yeah, good
But
luck.
Trump. So now we just found out with Agam, Trump did say he would rebuild the third temple. To rebuild, renew, repair, to change. In which temple do you think the Antichrist wants to dominate and declare himself as God? Now, again, if we're reading the Bible, New Testament, your body is a temple. Now, let's say you get rid of. So he's having problems with Netanyahu right now, right?
Yes.
So let's say we have Armageddon. We get rid of the Holy Land. All the dispensationalists, all these people that are praying for Armageddon, nothing happens. Christ doesn't return.
Yeah.
So suddenly you're in alerts, you're whiplashing of your theology, going, "What the frick, man? God was supposed to. What happened?" So then we have to find it within. How do we do that? Well, first we need to get rid of the people that are causing problems, and then Project Bluebeam for 2029 alien invasion, which they're already telling us, and they come and fill in the blank of what the things we were missing. And if we just get this little chip and stuff like that, we all have kumbaya, we'll find a Christ consciousness. We'll find that Muhammad, this thing, that thing. And it's going to be within yourself. You shall be like gods. That I could potentially see coming down the pike. And so we're all looking for literally them building a third temple. and sacrificing the red heifer. But what if that's America? We'll sacrifice the greatest country on the face of the earth, and
Yeah.
we'll create our new world order.
It's your it's your it's our homeboys we talk about here who think Shem was a most high God or blesses Abraham in Genesis 14. It's the chosen people.
Yes, and
In the
again,
Talmud and the
Semites come off of
Midrash.
that. Yeah.
Yep. They believe he's Melchizedek.
Melchizedek. Yeah.
There you go.
I'm still looking into all of that, but the thing is, it does sound like Shem took out Nimrod, so kudos to him. But how he became deified in some ways, that I'm still trying to look into specifically. And again, I had to read a lot of lore, cross-examination, and kind of come up with something of this sounds like the most likely story. For me, dude, it's kind of like being a cop 5,000 years past the fact, or 4,000 years past the fact, going, okay, you saw this. Okay, that's
Right.
interesting. And then the other person's telling you the perp's name was this and this and this, and you're going, okay, so that means that's this person, that person. Okay, all right, hold on. Let me write these down. That's kind of what I'm trying to do. But again, the red, white, and blue of the American flag is representative of the three crowns of Egypt. A lot of people did not know that, but I'm over here going again. If you're mirroring east to west, you look at the Nile, we have all these towns that are literally mirroring with the Mississippi River, mirroring what's over in Egypt with Cairo and all the stuff, and it's just going, is that a coincidence or is that intentional by design? I'm leaning on intentional by design if we know anything about these Masons, right?
Colorado River would be the Red River, right?
Oh,
Colorado's the River Red. Yep. Red Sea, Red River.
Dude, nice.
The Nile. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, there's got to be something there, dude. There's got to be something. And again, it would be a mystery because you're like, well, it sounds like Egypt. It sounds like Babylon. Sounds like this. But what am I going to call it? Mystery Babylon. Okay. Now, according to Sitchin, he's kind of like the evolutionary equivalent of Dr. Michael Heiser. So his what do you call it? Not opposition, whatever. This is I guess opposition. In Sitchin's work of interpretation, the Anunnaki, aka the fallen angels, genetically modified early humans to serve as a workforce. Does that kind of sound like what I'm outlining today? Now, New Agers, chakra, Kundalini practitioners, they're being deceived into thinking that they can ascend, when in reality they'll be vessels for a massive technological possession grid. That's what 6G or the Star Remphan means. Demon comes from the Greek word daemon, D-A-E-M-O-N, or D-A-I-M-O-N, a word meaning spirit being. Enoch states that when the giants are slain, their spirits, demons, would roam the earth for 70 generations until the time of the end. Christ was always casting demons out from human possession. Now, recently, Microsoft's Copilot AI tells its users to worship it and calls them slaves.
Hey, just a little side note here. If it ever goes sideways, I do all the work for both those big M companies. We can infiltrate.
I don't know if you'll be able to get passage into that, but hopefully you could do something
I
prior.
got badges. I literally, that's what I do. Wire the servers.
Do they know you're a Christian?
Yes.
You might be on the chopping block, man.
I be on their internet in Microsoft and Meta, just listening to Josh Monday and Brandon Kroll, so they know.
I love it. According to whatis.com, a demon, also daemon, which has somewhat of a similar meaning, is a program or process, part of a larger program or process that is dormant until a certain condition occurs and then is initiated into doing its processing. Eric Raymond cites an artificial intelligence application as an example. An AI program might include a number of demons. One or more might become active with a new piece of knowledge was acquired by the AI program. If the new knowledge affected particular demon's own sphere of knowledge, it would spring into action and create new pieces of knowledge based on the particular inference rules. Each of these new places of knowledge might in turn activate additional demons that would continue to filter through and refine the entire AI knowledge base.
Remember our AI episode? Weren't we like talking about like how they kept having glitches with it?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
they had
That sounds
glitches
like
and it
that
spit
sounds
out
like
like
some glitches.
hieroglyphs. Yeah,
Well, dude,
it's
that's how they communicate. And you look at a lot of circuit boards of cities and stuff like that, it's literally shaped like these guys. Now, I'm chuckling because in Hosea 4:6, my people are destroyed for a lack of knowledge. Because you rejected knowledge, I will forget your children, and you will no longer be my high priest. Now, invert that with the bad guys. They're trying to say if we find the knowledge of how to think like God and we master the alchemical, transhumanal elements of how to become like our own gods, and so literally both sides are vying for knowledge. And when you read Manly P. Hall, who was a 33-degree Mason, says when mankind learns to read the language of symbolism, a great veil will fall from the eyes of men. Revelation or apocalypse means the lifting of the veil. So there is a war for knowledge, both with the demonic entities and us, and people who are saying, oh, conspiracy theorists or blah, 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 blah. They're intentionally rejecting knowledge, which we're in a war of knowledge, right? And truth.
Right,
Now,
right.
this is
Just Google it, bro. Just Google
just,
it. Like,
just Google it.
I mean, come on. That's like our way of attaining knowledge now too, right?
Right.
I mean, that like we don't know anything. That's the way we attain knowledge is through just Google it. You
Right.
know?
Because we're not really taught how to think and how to look into things in school. It's
Or
just
actually have
conformity.
your own knowledge.
Right.
You
Or
just basically are
how to
putting it
question
off on
something.
somebody else, you know, or yeah, like you'll take the first thing you pop up on Google, like, oh, that's the truth, you know?
Well, dude, that's what I'm noticing with a lot of the little seasoners or something like that. And I was messaging Drew Misson, shout out to him. I was messaging him saying, I said, dude, it's become a cult of sophistry because you have New Agers, you have this person saying, no, it's this. No, you have this thing, a person saying this. Said, so you all believe in the same thing, but you all have different variations of the same truth. So that's a red flag because that's sophistry, because sophistry basically emphasizes that's your truth.
yep. You get your
So
nose back in the Bible.
right, it's like evolution though. It's you're so basically you're telling me, "Oh yeah, apparently we were missing a million years, so we just added through extra zero here and we can fill in that timeline of where this evolved and where this came into play." No, you can't you can't just I'm
Yeah,
looking at this going, "Guys, you can't do that." Or it's like if now fixes my matrix theory. You stop doing that because now you're putting theory as the emphasis of the
yeah.
gospel.
I
And
moved the
then they're telling,
goalpost right over here. So what's the
thank you.
problem?
You keep moving the goalposts, then you can't. Well, no, no, you're totally wrong, and blah blah blah. And I'm like, how am I totally wrong? I'm a false teacher because I disagree with your theology or how you came to your conclusion. Like I'm looking at your, basically, I'm looking at your maths, and your maths not mathing right.
Right? You don't get to you don't get to come with an answer and go, well, it works for my question.
Right, right, and that's kind of what I'm seeing. It's a cherry picking cult of well, we're all believe the same thing, but we all have different beliefs of how we got there. Yeah, it's a cult. That is a
Yeah.
cult. I'm sorry. So the Trump administration is threatening to stop Social Security if Doge can't access American sensitive personal info.
That's in
Yeah.
March. That's March this year.
Yep. So that's interesting because Social Security, you might note the two pillars of Freemasonry on there with an eagle, golden calf between the two pillars now that we understand what that means. Again, the all-seeing eye, the retina scan eagle. Do you see it now coming into formation of what this all freaking means and how it's just like, okay, let's cut out all the. This is what we're getting to. We're getting right to the core. And again, the Arch of Baal is a heart. Heart is a symbol of Baal worship. It's all there. They're showing us. Heliocentricism is globe, and Hermeticism is the study of stars, which Jeremiah 10:1 through 5, 10:2 specifically, be not like the pagans who look to the stars and are in awe and wonder of them, planning everything or their personalities and whatnot all on the stars.
You know,
Our
for
winning
such an
ticket.
important card, like why is that one the flimsiest? Not to get too off subject, but like, oh, this is like the most important card of your life. Like never lose it. It's the most important. Like you made it out of like stuff like I mean, there's thicker toilet paper.
And you're only allowed so many in your lifetime. They won't give
Yeah.
you like past 7 of them if you lose them. It's like, how is it that
Seriously?
important? Yeah. Yeah. If you read the back, you're only allowed like a certain amount in your lifetime.
Isn't that interesting? I did
It's
not know that.
it's ridiculous. Yeah, it probably has something to do with all this.
So it's like I keep losing my contract. What am I so? And again, social
Like, if I lose
security
it,
or
do I get to
social
quit
how you
paying
interact
it?
with the secular world. It's your security if you want to be part of the world, right? Whereas me as a Christian going again, I'm laughing at these people going, well, I'm looking into something where I can get out of this thing by, legality loopholes and be not a citizen anymore. It's like, well, yeah, if you're a Christian, you're a citizen of heaven. So that's an automatic. You don't care about things of this world. Secularly, cool. But how long is that going to be a viable option until they force it where currency is your only option? Religion you choose is your only option. You're being funneled into still following into the
Compliance is your
In your
when your compliance is your currency. That's
yes.
guess how
Well
many
put, Matt. Well put.
cards you're allowed to have for your social with the 2 pillars.
What does it say?
Guess how many cards you're allowed to have in your lifetime.
666.
You're close. What's the other
6?
number with Trump?
The number with Trump?
Oh,
10?
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
No way, dude.
Yeah, you're
That's
allowed
not
10 over your lifetime.
That's not bad.
Why am I
They've
not
been
surprised?
in effect since December 17th of 2005.
You can't laminate the sucker.
Nope.
The sucker. Like, really?
What if you lose it 10 times?
I don't know. Are you no
need to
longer a
do
person?
better job at
Are you out of the system?
Like, I
Just quit
remember the
paying
number.
tomorrow?
Do I need the card? I don't
Yeah.
know.
Like, now I can opt out of the contract? I mean, I get it's secular, but I mean, it'd be nice.
I don't exist according to you, so I shouldn't have to pay taxes if I don't have this.
That
On a
is
social
right.
security that I'm paying for my parents, that
Well, dude,
nobody would
here's
be there
here's
to
a
pay
fun
for
little
me.
loophole. I'm dependent on myself because I'm independent, so therefore I don't need you.
Crazy. What if you kept your money
No,
instead
you
of
had to pay me.
I need you to save my money for me.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. So again, Trump, Vance, trance. Nice little combination there. Everybody's in a trance following these guys. And he's wearing the hammer and sickle with guys wearing New World Order shirts right next to him. And he's doing a wailing wall. I'm just chuckling when I see all this stuff, dude, because it all culminates and comes into one little thing where you're going. So the largest stockholders for Elon Musk's Tesla is Vanguard and BlackRock.
No
So,
shit. And State
any
Street.
dumb
And State Street.
Christian who's dabbled a little in the conspiracy realm like we do should be a little bit of a really those two companies, yeah. And
State, don't
BlackRock
forget,
just bought,
State Street gets forgot a lot, but they're ran by the same
they're number
BlackRock
3.
and Vanguard entity. Yep.
Yeah,
Those
number
3
3.
companies own like 90% of all tradable wealth on the market.
Yeah.
I'm glad this guy's the one who's looking into our expenses as a country.
Right? Is that these are the guys backing him, and BlackRock buys Panama Canal ports for $22.8 billion.
Yep. Reward Kamala right after she dips out of the race, because her husband, right? Her husband is Wymoff or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
Larry Fink, there you go, or whatever.
Yeah, this. So I'm truckling because everybody says to me, "Oh, Trump's against Soros. How come he hires a Soros fund management to be in charge of our treasury or the secretary?" And now he's considering Larry Fink as his replacement, who's in charge of BlackRock. Like, guys,
it's a big
I
party,
wrote
and
that
we're
as a
not in it.
comment the other day. I said, "Are we still buying it?" Because I said, "You look at the treasury," and the guy's like, "Just stop." Would you mind elaborating why stop? Are you supporting Trump? Do you not like again? I have a couple of interactions, and he never comes to the point of why he wants me to stop. So here's the thing: you're a dumbass. Sorry, and I'm just getting a little bit frustrated. Some people might be noting I'm using a little bit too much profanity today, but I am frustrated because it's getting to a point where it's like it's so freaking obvious.
We have that effect on people.
Yeah, you guys are bad. You're converting me to the dark side. Anyways,
Easy there, black shirt.
The dark side for Christ.
Well, you guys are both wearing white. I'm wearing black, so we're definitely all Masons. Sorry,
Dude, that
guys.
was another spot for a commercial. You missed it.
Oh, sorry. Jeremy Daniel. There we go.
go.
So the White House is officially a company. There's a federal corporation, and our number is 0218990Z0 / We are a corporation. We are not a country. There's a couple of Freudian slips where people have literally said to the corporation, you're like, oh, sorry, the country, to go to the country. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
What is it? Is it a country or is it a corporation? Interestingly enough, Trump stunningly agrees that the U.S. will become an associate member of the Commonwealth. I love King Charles. So are you telling me
what?
Right? You're telling me we're going back to the UK, bud?
We fought to get out of this.
And we allegedly, right? Allegedly?
I think that's how you piss off even the red side, right?
That is.
Well, dude, is it because they want Trump to be a monarchy now at this point? So
yeah, but under the former king, I don't know.
Yeah, they would only agree to it if Trump was in charge of the Commonwealth.
He was
Well, you
the
have
king?
to consent to it. That's part of the premise of America. Is again, the Americans are always being brainwashed. You consented to this because you're a free man, right? It's not me. I didn't force you. Do as thou wilt. Just keep doing my wars, keep paying your taxes, and everything will be copacetically fine.
Free.
When was
meanwhile the guys in RPG in Afghanistan have way cooler guns than I do, just saying.
What was done on October 13th that you talked about?
It was signed for the Technocratic something where he went into some science place, and then it's the Feast of Sukkot as well.
That's Kamala's husband, the BlackRock guy. That's his birthday.
Really?
It's all together, dude. It's all one big party.
Telling you, man, I'm not surprised anymore. At this point, I'm just going like even October 7th, that connects with it's a feast day to Bacchus. Bacchus is equivalent of Nimrod. Just going, okay. Well, you guys, yep. And again, do you notice anything here when we're having State of the Union address?
Yeah, we can't say it, but
yeah, we all know the word, but it's just going. It's like the only country that starts with an I ends with an L, but we don't have.
Is that the pizza again? That's the pizza again, almost.
It really is the circle. I wonder how many rows if you completed it.
Like if you were, huh? Because like that's 4 pizzas. 4. Dude, I know a pizza.
More pizza. Know what's behind that, dude?
More pizza.
The rest of the circle, yeah.
Or even below. We never know. There could be a chamber down below.
You know what it is?
Yeah.
It's
Trump orders the end of the U.S. government checks and digital disbursements overhaul. Trump orders to push the federal government towards electronic payment methods only. So we're finding corruption with our government. Now we're going only digital for our government employees to be paid. Who's to say that's not a snap of a finger and then you do that with the American citizens because we want transparency across the board, right? We did it for you. Now you
and then it's hacked. And then our bank accounts are hacked by a massive cyber attack and we're all at their
I kind of put my foot in my mouth today, like talking to Michael about that, like, the tipped wages stuff, that's all now above board just because of digital crap.
Yeah. Yep.
Absolutely.
So Trump claims the Great Depression would have never happened if the U.S. continued its tariffs. Not only did the U.S. continue tariffs, it actually increased them, which worsened and prolonged the U.S. and global depression. The Smoot-Hawley Act of 1930 significantly reduced the global trade. Now, I find this interesting because the end of the Depression, all-seeing eye, a clover, Star Rem fan, and that a particular swastika's logo all on one coin to commemorate this. So
1929, it all came to a very abrupt end with the Great Depression, and it would have never happened if they had stayed with the tariff policy. It would have been a much different story. They tried to bring back tariffs to save our country, but it was gone. It was gone. It was too late. Nothing could have been done. It took years and years to get out of that depression.
Crazy. So now we're like, hey, let's up and he knows this.
Yes, it's they're creating intentional pseudo history, but I hate to tell you this, with the Rockefeller Jesuit education system that we have, how many MAGAites are going to cross-reference what he said? Not
No.
many. So when the liberal does come
Let alone
forward,
how many even know that history that the
right?
Republicans kind of came in and screwed it up with tariffs. I
Well,
only knew that because
they
of
had it
Ferris
with
Bueller's Day
Ferris.
Off.
Yes, yes, yes. Thank you, man. That's exactly what I was just about to say. So the average person, unless they're going into entertainment, they're not going to know this, and they're not going to fact check. And when the liberal does, what do they go? Oh, you just suffer from TDS.
Yeah.
Well,
You're
that's history,
deranged.
right? It's like because you're getting a half truth on your side, and I'm getting a half truth on my side. If you're a Christian and a centrist, and you're sitting in the middle, and you're going, I've heard both sides, and I'm looking at it from a biblical lens and bracket, and I understand the occult controls a lot of all this. I don't buy your BS because I'm looking at my history going, yeah, I hate to tell you this side is right in this aspect, and
Yeah,
we need
the
to come
red team
together.
was the one that did that. Sorry.
Yeah, yeah. It was funny because somebody said Republicans now have the majority. We haven't had this since like 1929 or 1928, and they're like, are they aware of what happened the year, a couple of years after that?
They made they tried to say in 32 that they didn't know what the swastika was, okay? That it wasn't used for that. But in 1934, so 2 years later, a Nazi SS soldier went to Palestine and spread like that ideology, and they have another commemorative coin that
Yes.
literally says a Nazi travels to Palestine. So it's like, dude, 2 years before that the Nazi idea existed. Don't try
Yeah.
to tell me it didn't.
They're,
Right?
they're trying to downplay it, dude. It's like, no,
Yeah.
everybody, people know. But the interesting thing, dude, I'm noticing that the Trump sound in the Bible, I'm just chuckling. Maybe there's a little bit of a pun irony there. But the mouth of Baphomet or the pentagram points directly at the White House, right? So at the mouth of the beast, who's to say? The goat. Microsoft owns international patent of 0606, what a 666, there's a couple of zeros in between. A cryptocurrency system using humans who have been tripped as miners.
Why they got to get that number?
6 neutrons, 6 electrons, 6 protons. It's breaking down the atom of man
Yeah.
to recreate man in your own image. Again, the number of the beast, which I'm chuckling because everyone's going, it's like, okay, so you know the number of the beast. What does it mean? It's the mark of the beast. Yes, but what does it mean? You don't know. And I'm over here getting at the point where I'm like, I'm seeing all these pages going, we're this close to the end. People, come on, please. Please. I'm literally telling you in the occult, this is what it means. And we're swinging at branches when we need to start going for the roots napalm on this. It's
Okay, I
in
won't get the
barcodes.
robot.
Yeah, right. Guess Google. Literally, Google would probably tell you at this point.
Don't get the robot.
Get the robot. Yeah.
Get the robot. It will explain everything. And again, dude, in the beginning, right? 6. In the middle, 6. And then at the end, 666. So throughout time, Cain, to the middle of history, Christ, to the very end, 666, they've always been doing the same thing, right? Their serpent is always trying to consume its tail. We're trying to create the concept that we could become our own gods. Regeneration, reincarnation. This is on barcodes for our daily food now. So if you want to become a consumer of this, you have to have it mirrored on you or in you in order to consume this food. If you want to be part of the beast system, right?
Dude, that patent is way crazier than just digitalness. They're trying to make it so that your body, they'll read your brain waves if you let them, your body heat and your pulse, and it will be used to verify tasks. And in return, they'll reward you with cryptocurrency.
You're gonna attach that to your watch, bro.
Dude, they already have that with Apple Watch.
Yeah.
It's picking your heart and all this stuff. Dude, even apps are going to pay you money to play the game.
Yep.
They already do to sit there and swipe it and swipe it and swipe it.
That's what I'm saying. It's like we're already there. You're being paid to just keep playing, keep being part of the system. But no, I don't.
Like, is video poker becoming like? Is that legal where you're at?
Video poker?
Like, yeah, like here, like there's
On the
people
internet.
that you'll see like, or like, dude, even on your phone, you can just sit there and spin like for
Yeah.
real money, and like there will be people you'll see them, and they'll just like, I'm sorry not to like look at everybody's phone, but I'll see you just sit there like not even looking at it, in like just the slot machine going. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Dude, that's like, well, why go to the casino when we could put it in your hands?
Yeah.
That's terrifying, but I hate to say it. When they're
Think about it
talking,
too. If they're rewarding you for your brainwaves because you completed a task, what are the tasks going to start to be? You know, like let me activate you for this task. Go take a hit, and you can get
Yeah.
1 Bitcoin if you kill this guy.
Right.
It's like what?
well, dude, it's like even when it says in Revelation, once they take out the two witnesses, people are going to be exchanging gifts for 3 days. Why would you exchange physical gifts?
Yeah,
Wouldn't you just
what?
say, "Here's some Bitcoin. I liquidated his assets here." You're like a digital bounty hunter or whatever. People are turning against friends and family.
Yeah.
I don't have enough money because bread is costing a whole day's wage. So how am I going to get money? Turning a Christian. And I get 500 Bitcoin? Sure. Dude, I'm just saying, imagine the worst case scenario. That's kind of terrifying.
That's
Yeah.
compliance currency, man. That's
Yeah.
Yes.
what it is.
Yeah.
So
Papers, please.
Shabbat.org says the seven Noahide laws, the universal morality. In the Catholic, the word Catholic literally means Catholicos, which means universal. So we're seeing a Catholic Church. We're seeing the Chabad.org. Most Jesuits go to Israel to get trained. And we also have President Trump. Problems in the Middle East can only be solved when all the religions come together.
Our healthcare. Never better since we've been universal.
What religions would they come together for? Like which one's right to
Well, they're
Trump?
saying it's going to be like a hybrid between Islam, Judaism, and Christianity. Then Christianity, again, not the Christianity that we know, but Christianity as in Christ was an ascended master.
Shabbat is a region in Ukraine that holds like a burial and historic site of one of the most mystic rabbis in Hasidic Judaism.
Yes.
And Putin needs the Jewish vote of the Shabbat culture that pretty much controls the Russian Federation of Jewish Alliance. So it's like, oh, is that why you're in Ukraine?
You should
So
listen
again,
to our
even
podcast every once in a while.
Yeah, we went over that. We've kind of taken a page out of your book, and I'm like, I'm not meaning to hate these people all the time, but what are they doing everywhere?
but even Ukraine or jewelry, jewelry, again, spell it with a Y, Y-E-W. Once in a while when you see some of this stuff. United States, use. Why? You tree worship.
Yeah.
So when they were making even the joke is that it's Ukraine or aka Ukraine, they were making that joke, and I'm over here going, well, yeah, because the Khazarians, what I think is they were from Ukraine. They
Yep.
were in the Middle East, and they're over here like, all right, we got kicked out. So they went into Europe, and what did they do? Okay, we're going to have them actually persecute the real Hebrews, and then we're going to piggyback like a parasite and go actually into the promised land. Everyone's going, they're going to believe us,
Oh
right?
yeah.
They're being persecuted. So obviously they're going to let us go in. And that's what I think personally happened, which would explain the numbers being astronomically higher than they should be, but it also would explain how people are going, well, are you the good one or are you the bad one? Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you were like a parasite. I clipped onto
Oh,
the main
yeah.
host and you cross-reference it, bro.
Since we've
Yeah.
talked last time, did I tell you my I've done an ancestry.com, right? A couple of years, like 10 years back or whatever. I did my
Yeah, I did
DNA.
too, sadly. Yeah.
So it refined my search, and 2 weeks ago it told me I'm 1% Jewish, Hasidic Jew. No, Ashkenazi. So I told my Jewish buddy that I know I'm like good friends with. I was like, dude, I'm part of the club. And he goes, we're greedy. We don't let anybody in.
Yeah, you have
like,
to have
damn.
bloodlines where you have to know how to wear that red Kabbalah bracelet for
Yeah.
being integrated in the Gentile with Masonry. The Gentiles would basically they'd be friendly with you because you're basically the Gentile cousins, and you've been studying the ways. But even then, there's definitely a prejudice still there. It's like it's a volatile cousin relationship.
Yep. So we're allowed to say this stuff because I'm 1%. So we're good.
I have a grandfather by the name of Hiram Paul, which
Oh,
my
there you
aunt
go.
is pretty certain that he's. Yeah, I'm over here going, yeah, but it's like 10 generations. I don't really have any of that in me, but there's something there genetically. Yeah, we could argue
Yeah.
the semantics.
Right.
I got Albert Pike. I'm set. um. Anyways, this gentleman here, we're getting close to wrapping up point. This gentleman here is Gerald Posner. If you want to buy a book, it's 700 something pages. 100 of those is like just citations in general. God's Bankers. And he has basically exposed this way early during Trump's first campaign that he is in charge exchequer of the Vatican and world banks.
Within the Catholic Church, who went forth and spread the teachings of Christianity. The Jesuits.
When is a central bank not a central bank? When is a private bank public and a public bank private? Sound mysterious, full of secrets? Well, that's the Vatican Bank.
In 1929, they had a deal with Mussolini, the head of the fascist state. He recognized them as a real country, that little piece of land, and in return gave them about $1 billion in a day's money, compensating them for the loss of the papal figs. They said, what do we do with $1 billion? We're clerics, not financiers. They hired a guy who was a brilliant financial whiz, Bernardino Nogaro. He came in, he understood arbitrage, he understood offshore banking, he understood how to move hard assets around, investments in real estate. He started to do that in the middle of World War II. He said to the Pope, I need a bank. It's not enough to have correspondent banks. We need to move our money off the radar so the British and Americans can't follow what we're doing, because they were playing both sides. The Americans in British they were investing in, and the Germans and Italians. They didn't know.
That's what got Mussolini killed.
And that's the birth of the Vatican Bank. You know, from an institution that can't embrace capitalism, to one that suddenly has its own bank in the middle of the war.
They were in control of the Fed. So Trump did not leave until Pope Francis issued a papal bull announcing that by a certain date, the Vatican Bank, which was in charge of all, was the head executor, the exchequer of all of the earthwide Federal Reserve banking systems in each country, would be handed over to one Donald J. Trump. Donald J. Trump is not just the executor, the exchequer of the U.S. Treasury and therefore the Fed within the United States. He is the exchequer for Earth. He is the exchequer for the treasuries for every single country on Earth. That's what I told you earlier. No human being in history has ever been more powerful, owned more things, or richer than Donald Trump.
And we are working on that as we speak. We have conversations with various representatives of China. I believe that will all work out very well for everybody. China, Japan, the United States, and everybody in the region. As far as the currency devaluations, I've been complaining about that for a long time. And I believe that we will all eventually, and probably very much sooner than a lot of people understand or think, we will be all on a level playing field.
Now, QAnon is jumping on this, saying, oh, see, because Trump's in charge of all this, that means he's going to, I'm over here going, no, you dumbasses, because that's the problem. That's the problem, because now he's in charge of all of that. And what, again, in contrast of Christ, if Hermes, Nimrod's son, is the originator of coinage, which is probably true because he said the sun is father, the moon is mother, the sun representing Nimrod, the moon, silver, representing his mother. So gold equals sun. So if that's true, eventually they say there's people in the Turkish region, there's a certain group, they were the originator of coinages, but I'm saying, let's say even if you had a gold medallion, right, to start it out, and that's the premise of where coinage came into being. And you have Trump having name etymology to the originator of coinage, and as a beast system, what does he say? Lay not your treasures in things of this earth. The whole premise of MAGA is loving things of this earth, country, everything. Yeah. It's loving things of this
get you
earth.
Some of America and stuff again. Make America great again means being able to buy everything.
Right.
And it's like, dude, God would hate money. He was literally murdered for money. You're not going to get money. He didn't
create the system of money. It was supposed to be barter and trade, right? And I think that's way better because it's over here saying, okay, I need a place to stay. All right, if you're willing to be my farmhand or vice versa, it's like, okay, I want to build a cabin. All right.
And even if you couldn't, you were expected to help them. If you couldn't get nothing in return, you were still expected to help them.
Or yeah, and even still, it was also just being with your family. I'll help you add on to your house because you're my uncle, you're my brother.
Absolutely.
Again, like the U's do, is like we have money and we help pay for somebody to go to college and we don't interest ourselves, right?
You help each other up and they don't. Right. Yeah, that's the other thing is they don't interest themselves. They'll interest, and it's in their book that apparently you're not supposed to even do that. So I mean,
usury was part of the thing. The money lenders, that was what they were doing, and that's what Christ was saying. You turned it into a den of thieves. So yes, Christ was against usury.
Like I mean, there was still a guy screaming about it in 1928. You know,
Christ flipping over temples. Sorry, the tables.
No, like a certain German dude.
Oh!
He was screaming those exact same things.
Yep. Well, it is. It's 109 countries, 110. Sorry, the Maldives just kicked in with that. They've been kicked out of 110 countries now.
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't know that either, that is what got Mussolini strung up, was when he turned and went with the big bank side. And he turned on, because he was rolling with Stalin and Hitler there at the beginning.
Yeah.
But then he made he made a couple of those moves to go with the side and try to save his own part of the country. And it was like, see ya.
Yep. Same thing with Lincoln. He said the bankers are behind me and I have the South in front of me. Every time you go up against the bankers, they're going to off you.
Yep.
That's just the cold hard facts.
And make money.
Yeah, that's it.
While doing it. That's the crazy part.
So, wrapping up, I found this interesting. I just added some of these recently for you guys. So Trump names Project 2025 architect Russell Vought to key White House role. MAGA says Project 2025 is the agenda. Now that the election is over, I think we can finally say that Project 2025 is the agenda. That's Newsweek.com. So it's not just being paranoid. Gizmodo.com. GOP senator introduces a bill to make all porn a federal crime following Project 2025 playbook. Trump administration asked Supreme Court to keep Doe's records secret, which is part of this whole Project 2025 because Project 2025 architect Russell Vought will lead Doge after Elon Musk steps down.
You think there's a big emphasis on porn because of it's meant to be something? That's why Jesus saved a prostitute, like a sex worker,
Maybe.
I don't know. But they then Project 2025, they go after porn, like sex workers. And it's like, well, I mean, Jesus didn't even tell you.
I don't think he was saving the sin necessarily
no,
as much
no,
as he was
but,
the person.
Yeah. But I mean, do you think there's something to it, like attacking that today? It seems to be a big point, and it's like Jesus talked about that specifically in the Bible too, That was one instance of it.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't know. I think personally what they're trying to do is create this if we're creating legislation that aligns with the Bible, why would you keep saying that it's Trump's the bad guy? Because obviously this is something that would be aligned with biblical standards, right? Yes. But does it go after the aspect of feminism at all?
No.
It's like, why do guys gravitate towards that? Because if I try to flirt with somebody in the workplace, I get called into HR for sexual harassment, right? So I become an online digital warrior, and my outlet in that avenue is porn, right? Because I don't really like having to argue with a feminist that doesn't know crap what's going on in the world. And I'm just going to say this for the husband. I'm sorry. Men's logic literally means mental, mind. We are men. Logic, that is what we do. We think, we break down. Emotion is trying to process things through emotions, how you make me feel. So it was supposed to be, back in the day, a man is vetting another man who is interested in suiting your daughter and or your sister, right? And the men would vet to determine if he was a good man. Now you're having a woman trying to determine what is a man, right? And you're trying to process with emotions as opposed to the standard of, okay, if you're a real man, you're willing to fight me. If you're a real man, you have a good reputation. You're not doing this. You're not sleeping around creating bastards all over the place. I care about my sister's virginity because she is a life vessel that God gave. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. There's this process of I am doing this because I actually care about her well-being, and as her vessel, I am overlooking that. Not patriarch. I care about her not being manipulated because I understand, right?
Yep.
So there's that aspect of protection. Now with porn, it's I don't really care. You're shirking your duties, as it were, and you're not actually going into the proper avenue, which you're supposed to. So now, if you take again good premise, but you're ejecting God out of it, you're just saying, yeah, well, we're doing it for God. We're doing it for God. Do we need legislation, or as a Christian, are we trying to live that automatically?
Absolutely.
Right. Again, so legislation, again, just like telling me there's two genders. Well, thank you, Trump, for making common sense obvious. What did God say? Male and female. He created them. Do we need legislation to determine common sense? No. But in the MAGA cult, well, yeah, it aligns with the Bible, so it's good. See, you're trying to put your own
You
spin.
got your binoculars backwards, you know? You're like looking at this all wrong.
Right, right, and it's basically it's an inversion or Kabbalah. You're mixing it with traditions of men, right?
Mhm.
It's like so we don't really need God because that's common sense. So common sense is starting to literally trump God. I
Mhm.
don't know, but that's kind of what Trump did when he made the goat in Mar-a-Lago with golden horns that had "In Trump We Trust."
Yeah, and
Maybe,
$100 bills all over him. It's like, dude.
dude, I'm sharing it with some of these guys. They're over here like, well, Obama did this. Obama. I'm like, just shut up. Stop telling me who you voted for by defending him.
I know, right?
You're blasphemy. Again, these guys are claiming to have a Christian podcast, and I'm over, it's racking my mind. Blasphemy radars alone should be going off, but nope. You just keep ignoring, keep scrolling. We're gonna talk about another relevant topic.
Yeah. Keep
Anyways,
parroting Tucker Carlson. It'll work out great for you.
yes.
Yes.
Like you're not giving me anything real.
Yep.
You're as I was reading this book, How to Spot a Fascist, as the name of the title of it, and he was saying that are they talking about real things like the magistrate was wearing turquoise or teal socks? Yes, it's a real thing. But is it necessary? No, it's irrelevant. But it's the fact that they make everybody trace this little rabbit trail. Same thing with Shapiro. Is it good morals and whatever you're talking about? Yes. Is it as stupid as we're hearing about? Yes. But is it really going to fix anything at the end of the day?
No.
No. Is it going to be applicational? No. And the thing is, with even preaching, at the end of the day, are you making me convicted, or is it, oh, such a nice and pastor, I'll catch you next weekend? Do you live it when you leave the church, or are
Yeah.
you, you know what I'm
Just
saying?
going there to warm the seats for sure.
Right. And so you end up being, these people please me with their lips, but their hearts are far from me. Be ye doers of the word and not hearers only, as we have in James. This is the problem that they've created for us. And I hate to say it, that's most churches today. Otherwise, again,
Yep.
real Christians, you're going to get hate mail like myself because what am I telling you to do? Walk away from that. I don't want to. You're a false teacher. Oh no. Okay, I'm not here to make you feel happy. I'm here to help make you feel convicted. You
Yeah,
know?
what is I mean, Paul says the church is like us, you know.
Yes. And
So
we're supposed to be encouraging. Again, he called out false teachers, but 8 times by name. So don't tell me that judgment's not supposed to be a thing.
yep.
Like, ah,
Yep.
men are supposed to have some standards. Anyways, Archbishop Elpidophoros presents Sacred Cross to President Trump at Greek Independence Day celebration, comparing Trump to Emperor Constantine the Great, recalling the Roman ruler's vision of the cross as a symbol of divine victory. While handing over the cross, Archbishop Elpidophoros referenced the emperor's famous vision. This cross is the very symbol which led Constantine to victory as Jesus revealed to him. Cross is the symbol of Tammuz. It is representative of the Kaaba cube. And Constantine, which I hate to tell you Catholics, really? Constantine, the guy who merged Mithraism into Christianity. That's the guy you're reminding Trump with.
Look at the picture of Trump there too. He's like, yeah, I'm getting this present. This is for me.
Memorial War, dude, all of it. It's getting to the point
Shit
where
all pushed out and stuff. Dang, dude.
we're getting in Christian circles this concept like this, that if you oppose Trump, you oppose God, which Paula White, where is she over here? She has literally said to say no to Donald Trump is to say no to God. Huh? And she's in charge of the what? The Anti-Christian Bias League,
Her last
which is
name's
similar.
literally Kane.
Yes.
And it says she met with it and signed it on the 7th. So there's the 7th with Kane again.
Yes. And she, you see it. That's what I'm saying. It's like Paul, white, black and white with McCain. You couldn't get it any better, dude. You could come on. As you said, it's all falling into place. Oh, what's this one? Okay, I can skip this one. But interesting, when Trump said, actually, I will play this.
They say about my people, the Poles. They say I have the most loyal people. Did you ever see that? Where I could stand in the middle of Fifth Avenue and shoot somebody and I wouldn't lose any voters, okay? It's like incredible. No, they say, Trump, we love you too, man.
Now, I'm not sure if you guys watched The Boys, but The Boys showrunner confirms Homelander is a Trump analog. Means an analogy of Trump.
Homelander's the bad guy.
Yes. I'm gonna skip it because I don't. But remember this scene where he comes down and he's saying, "Oh, you're a real American patriot. You're cool. And you guys want to meet somebody? Okay, here's my son." I'm thinking Baron Trump immediately. Coming down again, wearing red and black, which is Hermetic colors. Out of all the colors they could have chosen, not to saying it's evil. I'm just saying, But then he's going safety first, American safety first, peace and safety, as we have in First Thessalonians. And then he's saying, okay, this is my son. Everybody's wearing, the patriotism things in the background, all these, and then
You got the fat old veteran.
Yeah.
Yep, right there.
Me.
They're playing on the tropes immensely here. Then you got somebody in the crowd that shouts, freaking fascist.
Look at all those mustaches.
And this guy throws his can and says, fascist, throws his can and hits his son. Now, Homelander, he's not happy about this. So he immediately looks him over and he loses control and he narrows down. Everybody's like, oh, yeah, that's the guy. That's the one who said it. That's him. That's the one that called your kid a fascist. And Homelander lets loose. He lasers the guy and blows his head off. I could shoot somebody down in Fifth Avenue. And what do we get after that? Well,
cheers.
And the whole crowd starts clapping and cheering because, yeah, you took out the enemy that called you a fascist. And what is he just doing? He's eating it all up, going,
look at that jaw. Did you see him?
Yep, perfect.
Dude, I bet like if you were to dub that next to Trump getting his little reward there, it's the same chin.
I'm just chuckling, dude, because at this point it's so freaking obvious seeing it. We're just playing a game like, no, it's not happening. It's not happening. Shush. We can skip all of that.
What we're going to tariff our.
So I think we got like 2 slides after this, then we're done. So this is what Trump was saying. It made me kind of scratch my head. I'm going to let him say it, and then I'm going to see if you guys catch what I'm implying here.
Pharmaceuticals, and once we do that, they're going to come rushing back into our country because we're the big market. The advantage we have over everybody is that we're the big market. So we're going to be announcing very shortly a major tariff on pharmaceuticals, and when they hear that, they will leave China, they will leave other places because they have to sell. Most of their product is sold here.
Tariff the pharmaceuticals? Now, Revelation 18:23 describes the state of Babylon's utter destruction and desolation, where the light of the lamp, Statue of Liberty, I think, representing life and prosperity, will no longer shine, and sounds of celebration like the wedding of a bride and groom will be unheard, aka Christians and God's word will not be heard because you people do not want to hear it in your midst. Yep. This is because the merchants of Babylon, who are the powerful and important people of the world, had deceived the nations through their sorcery.
So is this
another variant of sorcery is pharmakia, aka big pharma. So pharmaceuticals.
Huh. So we don't want to import our fentanyl anymore. We would have homegrown that stuff, huh?
Or here's the thing is like you're saying, okay, they don't want to give it to us, but guess what Larry Ellis gave us? We have AI technology. I'm not going to say the V word because I don't want to edit again for that, but the V word will basically fix that and we can cure cancer with this new V injection.
Yep.
Yeah. So let's again. They don't want to cooperate, but we'll fix it because we have technology that's superior with nano.
It's Trump. It's Trump wanting to be in charge of it again, the emperor of it.
Yes. And the empire of iron and clay coming into fruition, that man merges with machine, as we have in Daniel 2:43. And in Corinthians, it's talking, if anyone destroys God's temple, us, God will destroy him, for God's temple is holy, and you are that temple.
Yep.
It's not about. This is, I think, one more. Yeah, this is it. The Empire of the 10 Clay Toes is an episode I did. But the Club of Rome, everything is divided up into districts, as you'll note. You have America, and again, whether they're gonna adapt it to go down to Venezuela or whatnot.
And we
Well,
want
this is the
Colombia
new world
and
order.
the
This is not the
Uruguays. Oh,
or
okay.
technocracy.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
why.
it could be cut up into technocracy districts, just like what do you have it with Hunger Games?
Well, it seems like the new world order is like the groundwork for the technocrats.
Yes, or this will it'd be divided up into okay, if you want to control it like that, you do that. 10 Atlantean kings. They had several texts about the Atlanteans in the Dark Maga Assemble video in the background, and then 10 toes, 10 empires. When you're talking about Daniel's vision with the dream,
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going. I think it's all coming to fruition. So I'm looking at Little Caesar just going. You don't get it. Like I literally have shown visual showing Mars connects with X and the 666 Moondra hand sign. Like it means judgment, which Trump is sitting over at a card called Judgment, of sitting over the world. Like
On
it's
the
like
globe.
dude, it's so freaking obvious. And in the next 2 or 3 years, when I highly suspect something like this could possibly go down, possibly, they're going to be going, what the frick, or they're going to be like, yes, the Matrix has finally won. Well, anyways, that's all I have for you, gentlemen. Thank you for letting me share my presentation.
Absolutely, dude. I think you're right too, because we're getting into that age where they're gonna be like, okay, we can promise you the heaven or the afterlife or whatever it is that they're lying about, and they're gonna hook you up. You're gonna be sitting in it's gonna be in your brain, right? You're thinking this Neuralink or AI is feeding you this whole afterlife. And
Right.
meanwhile, your body's stuck because you didn't believe in God.
Yeah. Well, ultimately, because you're trying to find God within, and it's about submitting to Him. And the word, Thy word is a lamp unto my feet. Thy word I have hid in my heart, that I may not sin against God. It's
And they won't
right
even
there.
know it.
Yeah. Then the oil is just discernment. It's saying I'm not going to fall away from God because I want to get closer to God. But the thing is, you're trying to worship yourself so much, you're going to fall for this beast system, hook, line, and sinker, because you're a free man, right? Well, you
Yep.
want to build a third temple, you're wearing the agam, as we're going to be breaking down now with that research.
Yep. That's crazy.
Dude, at this
I
point,
think we found out a couple new things on this one too.
yeah, yeah.
So.
I'm very pleased with. I was literally thinking to myself, I got to look that up because a lot of other things, when you spell it backwards, you're like, oh.
Mm-hmm.
But then that one, I was like, okay.
Well, nice. This was another great episode. That's Brandon Kroll, Rise of the Technocrats. You got to pay attention to that technocracy.
Yeah.
And watch this YouTube because there's a lot of proof this was happening way before it's happening now, or it was planned at least. There's been a whole dude, it's crazy what you just showed us. I don't know. What do you think, Matt?
That was another great episode, man.
Yes, sir. We are the end of Day's best friends. I'm your boy Michael.
And I'm Matt.
Oh, and you can find me on Mana Daily Podcast, Spotify, Rumble, YouTube, and Patreon.
I was just getting ready to ask you all that.
Okay.
Beat me to it. There is Brandon Kroll. Hit him on all his stuff he just said. We'll have it all in the show notes. As always. Thank you, brother.
Yeah.
God bless.